Bartiromo, he's written to the Ayatollah,
saying, I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing.
No public response from Iran yet, but the president says expect to hear something from Tehran soon. Both Israel and the U.S. have warned they'll never let Iran acquire a nuclear weapon. House Speaker Mike Johnson denying claims from the Democrat House leader that they plan to shut down the government when spending authority expires a week from now. The speaker telling Fox is outnumbered.
We are putting a clean CR on the floor early next week, probably on Tuesday. It will fund the government at current levels, because that will allow us, as we said earlier, to make sure all the DOGE cuts and all the new innovations are calculated so we can actually use it in the federal budgeting. That's what they're afraid of. They don't want us to cut down the size and scope of the federal government because they love that.
Wall Street trying to claw back from more big losses. The Dow was in positive territory briefly, but is now trading down 33 points. The S&P 500 down and the NASDAQ down as well. America's listening to Fox News.
During tax season, your info travels lots of places you can't control.
W-2 arriving from payroll platform 3.
Everything criminals need to steal your identity is on your W-2.
Last call for accountant at home office, 1 minute.
LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second.
Tax preparation data centers with service to IRS. All aboard.
If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
68 for the high. Partly sunny skies. Cold front comes in tonight. Winds turn to the northwest. Cloudy skies. Couple of rain showers. Gusty winds. Could even be a couple of sloppy, wet snowflakes late tonight, 36. Weekend is dry. Sunny and cool on Saturday, 53. Sunday, sunny and 58. Sunset Sunday, 7:02 with the time change. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Hey guys, Glover here from my friends at Triton Exteriors. Hopefully you've heard me talk about Triton before. And you know that I'm good friends with their owner, Tim, that I love their commitment to customer service. Tim comes from the restaurant business, and so he is completely focused on your happiness. The answer is yes. What's the question? Also, we're not just your average contractor. We're your neighbor. We're proudly based in Shrewsbury. We deliver stunning exteriors with James Hardie Siding. So why James Hardie? Why is that a big deal? Well, it's the #1 brand for durability, curb appeal, and the best-in-class return on investment. As part of the James Hardie Alliance, we bring expert craftsmanship and a personal touch to every project. Your home deserves the best, and with Triton Exteriors and James Hardie, that's exactly what you're going to get. For roofing, siding, gutters, or fences, call 314-717-1159 or go to triton-stl.com. 314-717-1159 or triton-stl.com.
If you've tried and failed every ED treatment, there's another fix that could work for you. It's same-day surgery, it's minimally invasive, and is performed by South County urological physicians. Hundreds of men have come to us for this outpatient procedure that has a satisfaction rate of 90%. Interested? Call the dedicated ED phone line at South County Urological, 314-843-8000, extension 33. That's 314-843-8000, extension 33.
O'Reilly Veriscan is a free check engine light testing program that pulls from over 600 million vehicle scans confirmed by ASE certified technicians to provide a simple report and possible fixes. Available exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
I think President Trump, on economics and otherwise, is doing very well. But you remember the old saying, the danger of rising high is that the air gets thin. I'm worried about the tariffs.
Yep.
I'm not saying that tariffs are going to cause inflation. President Trump did them in his first term, and they didn't. I'm saying that we just don't know.
Yeah, that's a good place to start. We just don't know, because this is stuff that we really haven't tested, at least in our lifetimes. Hello, this is Ryan Wiggins with Brad Range, and today is going to be the Mannie Frey Show. Annie has the planned day off. She has the long weekend, and I think she's doing stuff with kids' sports this weekend.
They're at state.
They're at state. Congratulations for making state. We'll see on Monday how this goes this weekend, but it is the Mannie Frey Show, and we are talking tariffs today. In fact, the YouTube live chat poll today is about tariffs. It is this: are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? And I get that a lot of people are saying, well, can I be both? Well, not in this poll, you can't. That's the fun of a hard poll, is making you choose pro-tariff or pro-free market. This whole segment, though, we're just going to talk about the two sides, and can they coexist, and what does that look like right now? This is the economic plan for Donald Trump, is to open up things like American energy, certainly, to get inflation down, to get people working, to get businesses to come here. But a lot of that comes through this channel of tariffs. And just a few moments ago, President Trump took questions. I think this actually started at our time about I say it started because he goes for a long time.
Yeah,
and so when he actually made this comments was really only a few minutes ago, but he started talking, I think, at about 10:30 and was taking questions for a long, long time. And I heard this and I said, Brad, let's grab that, because that's really a part of the bigger conversation we're going to have today about tariffs, that we're nationally having as a country about tariffs. So let's go to that moment here.
I don't know, but wasn't a supporter, although the auto workers were big supporters. I watched him last night, and he said Donald Trump is absolutely right on tariffs. He said what he's doing on tariffs is an incredible thing, and it's about time somebody had the guts to do it, because we're going to save auto manufacturing. And I said to people when I was campaigning, you're going to have so many auto jobs, you're not going to believe what's going to happen. We're going to load up Michigan. I won the state of Michigan, as you know. And part of the reason I won it was I got a lot of auto workers that voted for me, Detroit, etc. But I think people are going to be very surprised. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned in your remarks chips manufacturing, how a significant percentage is now in Taiwan. You also mentioned it in your address to Congress, and you called on Congress to overturn the CHIPS Act, which had bipartisan support in the last Congress. Why would you like to see this particular law overturned, Mr. President?
Because it's hundreds of billions of dollars, and it's just a waste of money. Now, some people have already taken the money and used it. Actually, it's very hard to qualify, because they go by race, they go by gender, they go by all sorts of things. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You won't be able to find those people. So I don't even think anybody can qualify. They have so many different.
So the beginning of that clip is where he's talking more about the tariffs. He goes into some other economics things about the CHIPS Act there, which is interesting. I mean, the CHIPS Act is it was bipartisan, but he's saying that a lot of the money allocated for the CHIPS Act was not used about chips, which is what we're talking about with basically every government program right now. But I digress. The tariff thing, he's saying, and his big argument is that tariffs are going to bring more companies and more money into the United States. And that is the big argument for tariffs, is not that they benefit everybody. It is they benefit you. And it's when you are the largest economy, you have the power to do that kind of thing. And it really hasn't been tested whether this would work in the modern economy. But this is the kind of thing that I think is very, very valuable to debate. And I think, unfortunately, right now, I'm not saying nobody on the left is having the kind of highbrow intellectual discussion about whether tariffs are good. It's that the loudest voices, the party leaders on the left, are not having that discussion. They're yelling, but it's part, and they're yelling about tariffs, but it's part of this larger yelling that they're always doing. So it kind of gets drowned out because everything is always 100% freak out, and the conversation gets lost. This is where America, in decades past, would actually have healthy debate.
Yeah.
Where you'd have one guy or girl who step up and say, here's the policy that we'd like to go with. And then the other side, which would be either Republicans or Democrats, would say, no, I think that's a bad idea. And then there'd be a public debate about it. Right now, the odd thing that's happening is that there is public debate. I mean, that's what we're kind of doing right now. I'm playing a clip from Donald Trump. I'm playing a clip from John Kennedy in the Senate saying, somewhat opposite things. They're on the same side.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird to watch that the debate about tariffs really is coming from Republicans, and Democrats are just against it because it's Republican, at least in voting.
Well, and not even just because it's Republican, but more specifically because it's Donald Trump.
Yes. And so it's unfortunate because I get the sense that if Trump came out tomorrow and said, we're going to go full free market, they'd go, whoa, I'm pro-tariff.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing, too, because this is the party that has painted themselves as the party of the working man. We're the party of the working man. We wanted to, defend the little guy and all that other stuff. Well, I mean, if you stop and listen to what Trump is arguing from the point of tariffs, is he's saying that these tariffs will help not just protect, but increase American manufacturing, which means more American jobs, and people that work American jobs are the quote-unquote American working man that the Democrats say that they want to support.
And that's exactly what Trump was saying at the beginning of that clip that we just played, is that the unions are very much in support of the tariffs. And he specifically said Michigan because of the auto workers saying, this is very, very good for auto workers because, as we've seen, lots and lots of companies are moving their industry, their infrastructure back into the United States if they were considering moving out. It's actually why he's hitting Mexico and Canada so hard, because he signed USMCA in his first term, and so did Democrats, actually.
Yeah.
But that gave an open door. We didn't realize this would happen at the time. That gave an open door for foreign influence to come into Mexico and Canada that wouldn't be under any sort of U.S. jurisdiction to avoid our tariffs and our trade practices. So it was a loophole that he and now his second term is attempting to fix. In the next segment, we're going to get into why, and I think by the time we leave that segment, you can either disagree or agree with me, but I think you'll understand where I'm coming from when I present the case as to exactly why Donald Trump is so heavy, so addicted to tariffs, and what he's looking to accomplish short term, middle term, and long term through these things. And I think that you're going to walk away from that segment next having a really, really good debate even within yourself, or at least ammunition for a debate when you talk about it with other people as to what Trump's goals are here. But before we get there, this Republican internal debate that's happening is what I want to focus on here for just a couple minutes, because this goes back beyond Donald Trump. And that's what's nice about it, is that it's not just a new Trump policy. This is actually something that's been around for hundreds of years, maybe longer, but in American history, we've talked about tariffs for a very, very long time. And modern presidents, even on the right, have had strong opinions about tariffs. Take Ronald Reagan, for instance. I dug up this clip of him talking about why he thought tariffs were a terrible idea.
You see, at first, when someone says, let's impose tariffs on foreign imports, it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. What eventually occurs is, first, homegrown industries start relying on government protection in the form of high tariffs. They stop competing and stop making the innovative management and technological changes they need to succeed in world markets. And then, while all this is going on, something even worse occurs. High tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. The result is more and more tariffs, higher and higher trade barriers, and less competition. So soon, because of the prices made artificially high by tariffs that subsidize inefficiency and poor management, people stop buying. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity.
Reagan was a free market, no tariff guy.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts about that little
I think he
speech?
makes a lot of sense when you consider that speech in the context in which he was delivering it, the time period that he was delivering it. I also think that using what he has said there, that you could actually refine tariff policy to make tariff policy a lot more effective. And I'll give you this example. I think that whenever he delivered that free speech, China wasn't the manufacturing powerhouse that it is now. Okay? American workers cannot compete with the labor rates that China has.
Slave labor, even internet, not just China, but
Yeah.
anywhere.
So when I think about this, it's like, okay, so what we are at is a fundamental disadvantage because they are doing something that is so immoral that we would never consider doing it.
It puts us at a disadvantage for that reason. Yeah.
So he's talking about blanket tariffs there. You throw tariffs on everybody so that you protect Americans. But I think that China's policies there harm everybody worldwide. So let's say that instead of throwing a blanket tariff over across everybody, it's like every imported good is going to have this much input. What I would do is I would target countries that are using unfair or immoral labor practices to artificially drive their labor rates down, and I would force their labor or their manufacturers to compete on a level playing field with American manufacturers, but not just American manufacturers. I wouldn't tariff other companies or other countries that have equal labor policies to what we have, so that their labor rates and everything, all that, I would kind of create that level playing field, but I would really just target 1 or 2 or 3 countries. I wouldn't try to throw a blanket.
That's a great point.
Policy.
That's a great point, Brad. This is, Reagan's thesis for a lot of why he believed in what he believed, especially regarding tariffs and international economics, was that he's pro-competition.
Mm-hmm.
That if we have forces on the outside pushing us, that we would be better.
Right.
But he didn't account for that because that wasn't an issue at that
wasn't
time.
a thing.
And the other case he makes in that little speech there is that American companies would become lethargic almost because of lack of competition.
I think he's right.
I understand the argument. I disagree with it because in most industries, and this may not apply to every industry, but in most industries, there's enough competition internally within the United States that you're not going to get lazy because they're competing with each other. Go ahead.
I'm going to pause you right there, and this is the one thing that I would point out. The American auto industry, there's the big 3, but they're all under the same labor union. And so what ends up happening is whenever they have that, what Reagan was talking about there, that lethargic effort, the labor union looks at that and says, hey, we know that you're getting competition, and we know you're getting supported by the government to compete with these other auto manufacturers. We want our cut of that.
See, that's a good point too, but this is why this is a good debate, because you and I, we agree on almost 95% of what's happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But on this, I would disagree with you because there are a lot of other startup companies that have existed and succeeded outside of the big 3. And that's constantly going to happen. Tesla is one of them. There's
but name another.
Well, I mean, that's a good point. There's not a whole lot of other ones. But Tesla is doing it, and the more the market changes, the more there will be more Teslas.
The only reason Tesla was able to do it was because of a government push on electric vehicles. Tesla would have never, I like Elon Musk, but without government subsidies, there's no way people would have bought Teslas at the rate that they did because the government paid for part of the cost of that car to give subsidies because it's expensive to make an EV.
Tesla's having a tough time right now too because people are boycotting Tesla because of where Elon Musk is at. So it's a tough example to give. But before we jump out of this segment and jump into why I believe that Trump is going so hard after tariffs, I wanted to play the rebuttal to Reagan. Now, I found this video, and it was interesting because it itself was a both sides argument.
Yeah.
So it gave kind of the anti-tariff side at the beginning. But at the end, it jumps into, but here's why Trump is doing it, why he believes tariffs are good. And it's about a minute and a half long. Here you go.
2 main reasons. The first is more of a longer-term, unguaranteed benefit. But it would be to change consumer habits to buy more American-made products and incentivize more international companies to manufacture in the U.S. In theory, that means a stronger U.S. economy, more stable jobs, and less dependence on foreign countries. The second reason for imposing these tariffs would be to use them as a tool to pressure Canada, Mexico, and China into doing what Trump wants. Some of these things that he's publicly mentioned include renegotiating trade deals, stopping illegal immigration, and the flow of fentanyl. There's also the far-fetched idea of Canada becoming a state of America. But here's where things get interesting, because instead of just doing what Trump wants, Canada has clapped back with a 25% tariff of their own, and Mexico said they're doing the same but haven't announced the percentage yet. China reacted a little differently by preparing to file a lawsuit with the World Trade Organization. So why is Trump not backing down? Just listen to this. In 2023, Canada sent 76% of all of their exports to the United States. That accounts for roughly 19% of their entire GDP. In 2024, Mexico sent 78% of all of their exports to the United States. That makes up 37% of their entire GDP. But for America, their exports to both countries combined only make up roughly 2.7% of their entire GDP. So simply put, even if they do retaliate, getting into a tariff war with the United States would hit Canada and Mexico much harder. Trump knows this, and he's using it.
Yep, that is a fact. Trump is all about leverage, and he knows he has a lot of leverage here. So we're going to talk in the next segment about why Trump is doing what he's doing, what he hopes to achieve out of it short term, middle term, long term. And I would really like to know what you think about the proposition that I'm about to give to you. So get on our live chat. That's one way to communicate with us. You go to YouTube, you type in Annie Frey, and today's date will come up, and we'll talk about it. Coming up next here on the Annie Frey Show.
This is the Annie Frey Show. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Well, here it is, the beginning of March, and it's just about to get nice weather. Actually, today is going to be very nice. Nice weekend maybe for grilling. We've been doing some food prep indoors for the last couple months, but I'm looking forward to being able to open some windows and stuff. This is the time that Andrea's sauce, you're going to start seeing this on end caps at places like Deerbergs and Schnucks and grocery stores, because they know that grilling season is about to begin, and you need to have Andrea's as part of your grilling repertoire. So that's really all I have, is I have meat and I have Andrea's sauce, and that's about all I figure that I need. I know a lot of people like to do some doctoring to their meat, but I just use that. I think because I'm not really very good at it, and it's my safety net. I never really needed to do more than have Andrea's sauce. And that's because I've known the Andrews family for a very, very long time, and they are absolutely terrific. From right here in St. Louis, Metro East. If you've never been to Andrea's Restaurant, you should try that too. Andrea's Restaurant and Andrea's Sauce, it's made right there at the restaurant or right there on the grounds. Andreas.com is the website to see their menu. You can also pick up their barbecue sauce, their salad dressing, and their famous steak sauce since 1978 at Andreas.com.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design, because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
Mark Cox here. Get into the college basketball spirit this March by going to the Range St. Louis West. They have their basketball bonus promo all month long. 3 different baskets set up. You have a chance to get big discounts on firearms, suppressors, optics, and more, or win a free private lesson, a discounted membership, or gift cards. Play basketball and get a bonus when you score. Everybody gets 1 shot a day. Members get 2 shots. 1403 Manchester Road in Baldwin, TheRangeSTL.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for New Perspective Senior Living, where your loved one will enjoy chef-prepared meals, engaging activities, state-of-the-art technology, and a welcoming community that feels like home. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. New Perspective, where every day is a chance to live life on purpose.
Hi, it's Steve Mann. Have you heard the commercials for the Mark Patrick Stop Smoking seminars? And they said only $49.99 and it could work for you. So I thought, that's not even a week's worth of smoking. So I went. And guess what? It did work for me. You know, my friends and family are still amazed. I quit smoking. I didn't have cravings, anxiety, or weight gain. Listen, I don't know how it works, but I know it works because I'm living proof, and it's 100% guaranteed. So what do you got to lose? I'll tell you what you got to lose. A very bad habit.
Join Mark Patrick Seminar's Early Bird Special, only $49.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings. That's right. Seminar Sunday, March 16th, Aviator Hotel and Suites, South I-55 in St. Louis. Weight Loss Seminar, 11 a.m. Stop Smoking Seminar, 2 p.m. Or Monday, March 17th. 4 Points by Sheraton, St. Louis, Fairview Heights, Fairview Heights. Weight Loss Seminar, 5:30 p.m. Stop Smoking Seminar, 8 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
It's Tom Ackerman for Ophthalmology Associates, the doctor's doctors, 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 55 years of residential and commercial systems. Get in your comfort zone. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
Brian Kilmeade here, and I'll be there on Saturday, March 22nd. Jot that down, at the factory in Chesterfield in this engaging motivational journey through America's past. Tickets available at 971talk.com/events.
Sponsored by Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group. This is the Annie Frey Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Just a reminder that the Mannie Frey Show is today. Annie is off today. It is Ryan. It is Brad. We'll have Ethan in here to do.
In case you couldn't tell.
Yeah. This is not Annie speaking. Ethan will be in to do the Be or Not to Be in the next segment. And Michael Winslow, man of 10,000 sound effects, is coming in at the beginning of the 1 o'clock hour. I can't wait to talk to him. He has been somebody that has just been a part of pop culture.
Oh, for sure.
For decades.
Man.
And he's here in St. Louis this weekend if you want to see him.
I was super excited whenever they reached out and asked if we'd like to have him in because he's one of my favorite childhood actors. You guys would be like, Brad, what were your parents doing? But my parents we grew up on the Police Academy movies.
There's so many of them.
Yeah, we grew up on them. And, oh, man, I just have so many fond childhood memories of watching him do his thing on those movies and then Spaceballs and all of that other stuff. So
yeah, I looked up his IMDb. He's got a ton of film credit. And those are, I think, the most recognizable ones, Police Academy and Spaceballs. But I think he's been in every single Police Academy movie. And there's 7 of them. We'll talk about that with him when he comes in at 1 o'clock. But for now, we're talking tariffs. Today's YouTube live chat poll for the Annie Frey stream is, are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? Yeah, that's a tough question because there's overlap, but we are making you choose between pro-tariff or pro-free market just to see. You know, this is kind of why we do these polls. It's fun to see where your head's at, even if it's just a lean in one direction, even if you're not hardcore. But I said I wanted to talk about in this segment ways in which I believe Trump's, like, his overarching philosophy of why he's doing this. I think I've cracked the code, Brad. I think I know.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, you figured Trump out.
I think I've figured out what's in Trump's head. And that's why I want to present it to you and to everybody and see if you agree. And even if you don't, even if you walk away from this segment going, nah, I don't really agree with you, I think you'll hear something in here. You go, okay, maybe there's some merit to that. So let's start with the short term. Should I play a little sound effect to be like, okay, here's what he's doing short term?
You know you should.
Okay, well, here we go.
Okay, I didn't think it would be that.
That's the least tariffy sound effect I could have chosen, but it was just there, so I picked it. That's what it's going to be the whole segment. That's what you're in for. Short term. I think we all see what Trump's short-term goal with the tariffs is, okay? It's to get other countries to respond, to get other countries to do what he wants, mainly Mexico and Canada, but also others as well. I mean, he's kind of threatening Europe right now. J.D. Vance kind of a part of that, of saying, you guys need to get your act together. He's going around the world and flexing muscle and saying, here's the way things are going to be if you want to do business with us. And that is the short-term goal. I would say that it's an eclectic goal, and I'm being very nice in saying that word, because it seems to shift around.
Yeah.
It seems to shift every day, in fact, because it originally was immigration. We need to stop the flow of immigration.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, he cut that off quickly. But then it's shifted to now fentanyl.
Mm-hmm.
And some other things. That's been kind of the goal with fentanyl, but their countries have responded very well to that, and the flow of fentanyl has diminished. It's not gone. And I think hitting China with that is probably more important even than Canada and Mexico because of the production of fentanyl. But even that goal kind of tends to change daily. Is it about fentanyl? Is it about other things? Is it about bringing Canada into the fold as part of the United States? There are different ways that he seems to be wielding this.
Yeah. I think that the reason that you see it changes is because it's basically a thing that's a power lever. And he's like, I want this, and he pulls that lever, and then when he gets that, he puts it back, and then he's like, no, now I want this. And then he pulls that lever again because it gets results. I say this all the time. You get what you incentivize, and like when Trump says, I want this, and he uses a tariff to get that, guess what method he's going to go back to next time he needs something from you or from another country?
Yeah.
He's going to go back to that.
And he is getting it.
Yes.
The results are pro America in that sense.
Part of effectively governing and effectively leading is using and wielding power effectively, and this is one way of doing it.
I would say nobody ever has understood the leverage of economy as much as Trump does. And he knew going into this term, I am going to use that.
Especially, it's super effective when you consider the trade deficits that the United States has with so many countries. Like with the point that was made earlier, whenever they're getting more from you than you are from them, it's going to hurt them.
They need it more than you do. So that's the short term, and I think everybody understands that. Everybody sees it. In fact, a lot of the criticism I hear from the left, because this is not the internal debate that the Republicans are having. The Republicans are fine with him wielding tariffs to get certain results, especially stopping fentanyl and stopping illegal immigration. I mean, everybody's on the same page. But it's when you start asking, well, what's the larger goal, that people are saying, I don't know whether I'm on board or not. I was actually listening to NPR a little bit this morning, and they were discussing this issue, and I use words like his goals seem to be eclectic. They call them chaotic. They used to say, well, he's all over the place. He's all over the map, of course. That's what they're going to say. I mean, it's intellectual discussion, and it's fine. But that's short term. Everybody's watching that. It's happening in the moment. It's happening every day. You're watching it in the news. So what about the longer term goals? And I'm not talking about long term yet. Okay, we're going to take a step at a time here. What about the midterm, if you want to call it, middle term? Like, what's the not quite immediate goal, but a little bit longer term goal? See? We're going to do it again. That's not the last time we're going to play it. What's the middle term goal here? Well, here's a wild theory that I'm going to present to you. That even if it's not the thing that's driving this, Trump has to know that this is part of it. Okay?
All right.
One of the reasons that he keeps going, yes, we're going to tariff you guys. Oh, we'll pull it back last second. We're going to tariff you, we're going to pull it back, which he keeps doing over and over. Yesterday, one of the big news items, it was kind of toward the end of our show, was that he announced, now I'm going to pause the tariffs on Mexico for another 30 days. And I think Canada too. Like it was like, we're right on the verge, and then, nope, I'm going to pause them.
Yeah. Well, I think Howard Lutnick was saying that they have been talking to the representatives from each of those countries constantly, trying to work out a deal. So maybe they're getting close.
And I don't know what that deal is, because I'm not sure what Trump's trying to get ultimately out of that. So there's a theory here that his goal isn't just to stop immigration, illegal immigration, stop fentanyl, or get whatever little concessions that he can get. He's doing that because he knows, well, I might as well get those too. But the bigger goal, the sort of longer term goal, is to rattle the stock market. Why would Trump want to rattle the stock market, not crash it? Now, this is, you get into the internet conspiracy theories, and everybody's like, he's actually trying, he's playing 4D chess. He's trying to crash the American system. No. He doesn't want to crash our stock market. That's not Donald Trump. But he does, in my opinion, I really do believe this. I think he wants to rattle it a little bit. Why would he do that?
Whenever the stock market drops for a little bit, don't they call it a market correction?
They do, but there's a point in him wanting to find a market correction.
Well, I have read and heard that the stock market is kind of out of whack. Things are way overvalued in the stock market, and that can't be good for the country.
Things are overvalued. That's very true. But the reason that the proposition is that he's trying to rattle the stock market is because interest rates are tied to the bond market. But in the last couple of years, now in the last year especially, the Fed has lowered its benchmark rate a few times. And usually what happens is interest rates will go down because the Fed lowers their rate. But it hasn't happened, which is weird. The reason it hasn't happened, I'm getting really deep here, but this is actually what happens, is if the bond market responds to the Fed, then overall interest rates will go down. But people have not moved to the bond market because they've been addicted to the stock market. So the stock market has looked to investors more stable than even the bond market, or at least that they would get more out of it.
Yeah.
So if he rattles the stock market, like you've seen this week, it's been really up and down, some big jumps.
Yeah.
If he rattles the stock market enough that investors go, ooh, man, this is starting to look a little scary, and they run back to the bond market, you're going to finally see interest rates start to come down. Well, what does that do for Donald Trump? Well, nothing personally. I mean, I guess he owns real estate, but that's much bigger picture, and that's way outside. But it would affect all of your borrowing rates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the price of buying a home would be affected, or the price to borrow money to buy a home, and cars and things like that. That's for you personally.
Small business.
Small businesses also. But here's the bigger reason why he's doing it as the chief executive. We have $7 trillion in debt that is going to come due this summer as part of the national debt. That is not quite, but almost a quarter of all of our national debt is coming due this summer. If interest rates still are high by the summer when we have to refinance $7 trillion worth of debt, we're going to end up paying a lot more. So I did the math on this personally just to see like how much we save. If Trump can even bring down interest rates by a percentage point, 1 percentage point by the summer, it will save the United States $70 billion in interest. How much has Doge cut right now? According to Doge Tracker, it's a little over $100 billion. So let's say he's able to bring interest rates down by 1.5 points. He would save the equivalent of everything that Doge has cut so far. That's how big that cut would need to be. That's how big the refinance money would save that he's trying to do right now. Now, that's a big, big theory. But there seems to be a lot of merit to it because this guy knows this stuff. And even if it's not the driver of why he's doing it, he has to know that if he rattles the stock market, people move back to bonds, interest rates come down, he's going to save a lot of money on refinancing the U.S. debt this summer. Make sense?
Yeah. I mean, the question to me is the interest rate dropping, is that the big reason why he's doing it, or is that just a happy side effect? Because whenever you talk about, small businesses reinvesting, companies reinvesting, especially if you're like, hey, I want to bring companies and manufacturing back to the United States, well, they're going to have to borrow money to build factories and all that other stuff. If you can bring those rates down, that puts that on like overdrive, rocket fuel. People are more likely to borrow. It also frees up and changes the housing market, shakes that up a little bit. So there's like all sorts of benefits. Well, that would be maybe one of them.
Yeah, I agree. That could be a larger part of the bigger reason why he's doing these things.
I mean, when I watch Donald Trump do stuff, there's always a cascading effect to something that he puts into place. I don't think that he just targets one reason for doing something. He's like, all right, if we do this, then we'll get A, B, C, and D happening from this. And it takes a little bit of research, a little bit of understanding, and there's a lot of stuff that they're doing within this administration that just is over my pay grade that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And it kind of forces me to step back and be like, all right, well, I'm just going to let him do his thing and wait and see what happens. So I don't think Donald Trump just targets any one thing. I think that he's got a big picture.
I do too.
And like multiple.
But it's one facet that I don't think is being discussed, that I think he's trying to bring down interest rates. And I think the reason is that, he's saving $70 billion to maybe even over $100 billion just in interest. That's just an interest on the refinance of $7 trillion of debt that's due. That's a big, big savings that if he don't want to crash the economy.
Right.
But if you can kind of move people, he gets the investor class. So the bigger picture, the like long-term goal here, I think we've kind of discussed it. It involves Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Secretary.
It's still good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's sort of like a reset, So now we're talking about the long-term goals here right at the end of the segment. We'll get to be or not to be next. But the long-term goal here, as Howard Lutnick would say from the Commerce Department, is that they actually want to get rid of the income tax. They want to get rid of the IRS. I mean, they've said it openly. And how do you do that? Well, you create an external revenue service, which they've done, and that would be funded by Tariffs, exactly. So you're talking about a real drastic change to the way America operates as a country. Now, the way they would fund that is not just tariffs.
Right.
Obviously, you'd make money from tariffs, but you'd make a lot from the amount of investment that would be flooding back into the United States.
Yeah, I was going to say the same way states do it.
Yep. And it's what you said, Brad. It's reinvestment in small businesses. Small businesses need loans. Those loans are really high right now. If you can bring that down by a point or two, that's a big change for the economy. People start really go, oh boy, I'm going to be a little bit more adventurous here, start more businesses. Businesses are already moving back. By one estimate, in his first month, and this depends on who you talk to, but $1.4 trillion in business has returned to the United States in the first month.
Wild. That's wild.
By some estimates. Even by conservative estimates, it's at least almost $1 trillion. It's in like the 900 billion range of one of those is $500 billion from Apple.
Apple, yeah, that's half of it.
There's other ones. Yeah, he's announcing chip manufacturers are returning to the United States. He actually said 2 weeks ago that if every company that was investing in the United States would do a press conference, he said, I've been doing one every day. So he set a benchmark that you have to do at least $100 billion new investment in the United States for him to do a press conference with you because he's got so many people calling him going, hey, I'm going to do 10 billion. Hey, I'm going to do 50 billion. He's like, that's great. If you do 100, I'll do a press conference with you, which is why he just did one on Wednesday because they hit 100.
Yeah.
So is he using that as leverage? Yes, of course he is. He's trying to get the investment up. $1.4 trillion in business investment in his first month. If that number is accurate, that eclipses what Joe Biden did in 4 years. And Joe Biden started very low with COVID. So he should have had an advantage of creating a bigger growth economy and didn't. Go ahead.
When we talked about, this is tariffs as a whole, we're talking about the long-term goal there. You're also wanting, like you said, reinvest in the small business market, not just loans, but they need a fertile place, a good competitive environment to grow. So whenever you do tariffs and you're kind of artificially creating a fertile environment for these small businesses to grow. So that's another long-term advantage.
Big theories. We just spent most of the hour talking about it. We want you to weigh in. That is today's YouTube live chat poll. Are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? Maybe you straddle the line. That's all part of the comments, but we're making you choose one if you vote. Pro-tariff, pro-free market. You find that by typing in Annie Frey on YouTube. We love the discussion that's happening there right now, and we're going to continue that throughout the show. But we're going to take a small break, and we're going to do Be or Not to Be with Ethan coming in next, and then Michael Winslow at the beginning of the 1 o'clock hour. It's going to be fun. Stick around.
You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Frey Show.
Could you make $500,000 in retirement savings feel like $1 million? or $1 million feel like $2 million? The key is having a comprehensive financial plan for taxes, Social Security, inflation, healthcare, income, and more. Discover how you could make money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class, Retirement Planning 101. Guys, it's Dave Glover from KMOX. This one-night class is taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects with decades of financial planning experience. They're held at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. There's no cost. Just bring 3 canned goods for the St. Louis Crisis Nursery. If you've saved $300,000 or more for retirement, register by calling 314-350-8110. 314-350-8110. If, like me, you haven't quite had the pedal to the metal the way you should, or if you've had the pedal to the metal the entire time, either way, give us a call. We can help you out. We'll take you wherever you are. 314-350-8110. 314-350-8110 for Financial and Tax Architects.
And a lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, I'm usually much more active, but since I've been in pain, I've had to limit the activities I'm doing.
You're listening to Janelle, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
So he came in and he wanted to be able to keep up, play sports with his kids. And from there, we figure out which arch supports complement those activities. I fit him with the arch supports, and as I followed up with him, he's messaged me and said, I took my kids to the park today. We're walking, we're exercising, riding the bikes, and those are all things that he wasn't doing before because he was in pain.
For over 25 years, the Good Feet store's arch support specialists have been helping folks to live the life they love without foot, knee, hip, or back pain getting in the way.
Our goal is to have that long-term change for them. That's what's most important, is knowing that you leave an impact on someone's life. And I like that.
Try them for yourself. Stop in for a free personalized fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our 2 locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Today's YouTube live chat poll, are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? Jump on Annie's YouTube page and vote. Now, we around here are like the Highlander. There can be only one. So you might be a little bit of both, but we need you to come on and pick one of these. Are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? Also, Brian Kilmeade is going to be in town on the 22nd. And what we want you to do is if you've already got tickets, go ahead and upgrade your tickets to the VIP meet and greet. That's sponsored by Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group. You get a meet and greet with Brian Kilmeade. It's a really great group. As someone who has met Brian Kilmeade, he is what he is. He is exactly who you think he is on TV, and he is a great guy. He's one of the real ones. So make sure that you upgrade to that, upgrade your tickets to that. And if you haven't bought tickets yet, I think we still have some available, so you want to hurry there and get it. And I think you can go to 971talk.com/events and sign up and get your tickets there. The time is 12:48. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Let's support Heroes Care through comedy. Annie Frey here. Join Heroes Care at the Westport Funny Bone Sunday, March 23rd for stand-up from St. Louis's own Will O'Donnell. That's Sunday, March 23rd. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
This is the Annie Frey Show. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Lots of comments today. Ron online wants to know how I pronounce the word that's on my shirt. Aeropostale? Is there another way? Do some people say aeropostale or something?
Aeropostale is how I always pronounce it when I was in high school.
Yeah, me too.
Aeropostale.
I don't think that's English.
Neither is the word on your shirt.
Is this a real word? Or
It's the name of the company.
Yeah, it's just a brand name, right? It's not like it doesn't mean something in some language that I don't know about,
Wait,
right?
Were you actually asking, or did you actually think that Ryan didn't know what aeropostale was?
No, Ron on our chat didn't think he could pronounce it.
Ryan just said, is it an actual word? And you said, no, it's the name of a company.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
Ryan.
Thank you,
so-
Ethan.
Okay.
It's very few times that I can say thank you for defending me, but thank you. All right, you ready for B or not to be?
Yep.
Wiggins!
The bee or not the bee.
Well, it is time for the Bee or Not the Bee, and it is where a segment where you guys will have to decide if the story is real or if it is satire, and from the Babylon Bee. So we will go ahead and start off with this story, gentlemen. Hitler defeated after opposition party holds up tiny signs on paddles.
I'm just going to hit the sounder.
I mean, Brad, you know history better than I do.
Yeah.
Is that something that really
That
happened?
is
or-
actually the B.
I think that might be the B.
How'd you guys know? In a shocking turn of events, Hitler was defeated and the Nazi regime overthrown after the opposition party in Germany held up little paddles with tiny signs on them. The Führer was giving a speech in the Reichstag when suddenly opposing politicians began holding up miniature signs attached to what appeared to be tiny ping pong paddles. And within minutes, Hitler had been deposed and the Nazi regime collapsed.
Did anybody see that and thought, yeah? I mean, was there a
Like,
contingency
the
of America
signs-
that was like, yeah, that's the one I'm talking about?
I can't imagine it because I think some of the more rabid people on the left wanted them to
Wanted
do
more, right?
They
Yeah.
wanted everybody to do what Al Green did.
Which the polling that Fox just threw up there a second ago said 80% of America disapproves of Al Green's performance at the State of the Union.
And wasn't it like, I think it was, 76% approved of Trump's speech? And I think
Yeah, it depends on who you look at.
Yeah, I think that was the CBS one.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I saw one the other. I guess it was Waters World. They were asking. The guy was going around asking all the Democrats.
Johnny Belisario.
Yeah, he was asking them all like the different thoughts on it, and one of them said, "Oh, I don't know if the American people are that in favor of the right." I just thought it was funny. It's like even they don't even believe the polls. They believe the polls are lying. I don't know. I think it's funny. Okay, next one. Democrats file articles of impeachment against a little black boy with cancer.
I'm going to say that's the B.
I'm going to say that's the B as well.
It is indeed the B. Congressional Democrats acted quickly to file articles of impeachment against DJ Daniels, the young black cancer survivor that Trump honored during his speech on Tuesday night. During his speech to Congress, Trump deputized the young boy and made him an honorary Secret Service agent. Democrats say this type of obvious grab at power won't be tolerated. Nancy Pelosi said, "We must resist." In an interview on CNN, no one elected DJ Daniels. Trump simply appointed him to the Secret Service despite being only 13 and totally unqualified. I have instructed members of my party to immediately file articles of impeachment against that little cancer kid.
Oh, man.
It's terrible.
That story was weird because when I was watching the State of the Union, I thought, well, that moment stuck out to
Everybody would
me.
like that.
Everybody was like, wow, that's pretty good. I didn't see, and it depends on who you were watching. I was watching something called Fox Raw that I didn't know existed, but I found it on Roku, and it was playing the State of the Union live. And so I tuned in, watched that. Now, the camera that they cut to while that was going on never showed the full room. But I heard everybody afterwards say that the Democrats didn't stand up during any of those inspirational stories, which it seems like you could kind of put things aside for a second and stand up and clap for those.
The kid beat brain cancer that was supposed to kill him within 5 months.
Isn't part of the point of bringing up those stories to have everybody come
It's a
together?
unifying moment. It's like everybody can get behind that. And, you know, he's been deputized by several different police departments. And so it's like, okay, let me make you part of the Secret Service. And his reaction, the kid's genuine reaction, his eyes got huge. And he was shocked, and then he gave the biggest hug to the Secret Service director. I mean, it's a great moment. And then even like Rachel Maddow and Nicole Wallace on MSNBC afterwards, just like Nicole Wallace basically said, I hope he doesn't kill himself after a January 6th thing happens to him.
Oh, gosh, I know.
And yeah.
I think he's getting a little power hungry, though. You know, yesterday he basically said yesterday, you know, if my girlfriend touches me, then I'm throwing her in juvie.
The kid said that?
Yeah, and then he was like, she can hit the road, Jax. It was so funny.
He's got a huge personality.
Okay, next one here. Massachusetts woman buys house. Court orders her to allow a squatter to live in it.
That sounds real.
I'm going to say it's real as well.
It is indeed real. This nightmare started for Megan McIntyre last fall when her and her boyfriend decided to move to Plymouth and purchase their own home. Months later, instead of moving into the house they bought, they were forced to rent an apartment while also paying the mortgage on a home they aren't allowed to live in, and instead someone else is living in their house and that person
What state is
a squatter.
this?
This is in Plymouth, which would be what state is
Massachusetts?
Yep.
I almost said Maryland.
Gosh, the squatters' rights thing has become such a it's a problem that we never knew was a problem, but probably needed to be addressed a long time ago. That these stories are so weird that if any objective person were to hear that, they go, "That's wrong."
Right.
Yet our laws have somehow created this weird fantasy world where no, that's okay. Those people are protected.
We did that in 5th grade at lunch. Squatters, I get to sit there. You can do that with homes now.
Can you squeeze one more in?
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Okay.
Here, let me throw this one real quick. Okay, yeah. We'll stick with this one here. Okay. Trump institutes military draft for everyone with Ukraine flag in their Facebook profile.
I saw this. That's the B.
This is the B.
It is indeed the B. President Donald Trump announced this week that he'll be instituting a mandatory military draft for any Americans who put a little yellow and blue Ukrainian flag in their Facebook bio. These people, they want to fight, Trump told members of the press Monday. They put that little flag in their profiles, and I know they really want to get out there, die for Ukraine. Really brave and tremendous people. Not me, though. I'm not a flag person. No flags in my bio.
Fake Trump and fake Kamala Harris quotes are really funny.
They're so good.
Because you can find the cadence and you just kind of put anything into it.
Yep, 100%.
Trump going after Russia yesterday, with some tweets and saying that he's going to add sanctions to them because he wants to bring everybody to the table. I guess we'll see what happens. Take a short break. We'll be right back with the man of 10,000 sound effects, Michael Winslow, here on the Annie Frey Show.
CiviaLaw.com. That's CiviaLaw.com. My friend Todd Civia is an expert, a whiz, the very best there is when it comes to estate planning, and he's waiting to take your phone call. Do you need to put your estate plan together? Do you need to make sure that your will is taken care of, both in what you want to have happen and the literal will you might want to put together? What about your powers of attorney? Think about, it's not really fun to think about, but you kind of need to. Think about the event where your significant other is in the hospital. You need to make sure that you have everything in order, that the powers of attorney are taken care of so that you can be taken care of the way you want to be taken care of. That's where Civia Law comes in. He can help you with any sort of estate planning, elder law concerns that you might have, and care for you from the beginning of the conversation when you call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL. And you ask him to help you with your estate plans, your elder law needs. He's there for you in Missouri and Illinois, online at CiviaLaw.com. You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Prices are going up in 2025 on HVAC equipment. Save now with 2024 pricing on a new system today. For details, visit aircomfortservice.com/new.
Mark Cox here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how to link to the market without the risk. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go online to retirementkey.com.
Well, if you're like me and you enjoy wine, especially quality wine, you have to try the delicious wines from Stonehill Winery. This winery, if you've never been there, it's in Hermann, Missouri, so it's local, been around since 1847. Listen to this. Stonehill's Cross J. Norton wine beat out 235 other wines in a Missouri wine competition this year and ended up winning the Governor's Cup. Stonehill is Missouri's oldest and now most awarded winery. The winery itself, this is really cool. It has the largest series of underground vaulted cellars in North America. So what's cool is if you get a chance to go to Hermann, you can stop into Stonehill Winery and take a tour. Really cool. They do all kinds of events there, weddings. Think about how cool that would be. I got to try some of Stonehill's Ozark Hellbender the other night. It's a dry red wine, and it's fantastic. Actually, listen to the description of this wine, okay? Aromas of sweet cherry, blueberry pie smeared with a plum compote and drizzled with cinnamon sticks and toasted oak goodness. You can find Stonehill wines at virtually any retail store here in Missouri, brought to you by our friends at Lore Wine and Spirits.
You've been listening to the very popular Wellness One for many years, Saturdays and Sundays on 97.1 FM Talk. We're happy to share that we've expanded the show to 4 times a week. Yes, 4 times every weekend. Saturday at 10 a.m., Saturday at 8 p.m., Sunday at 9 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. It's the same great show designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you a common sense, science-based strategy for a healthy life. So join TJ and Aaron for Wellness One. Now 4 times a week on 97.1 FM Talk.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
President grows impatient with Ukraine. I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News.
I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine. And they don't have the cards.
The president telling reporters in the Oval Office today.
I find that in terms of getting a final settlement, it may be easier dealing with Russia, which is surprising because they have all the cards.
But following Russian missile attacks on Ukraine overnight, the president has also posted on social media he's considering tough economic sanctions against Russia. President revealing to Fox's Maria Bartiromo today he's written to Iran's Ayatollah with an invitation to negotiate a nuclear deal that would prevent Iran from making nuclear weapons, then confirming for reporters.
Hopefully we can have a peace deal. You know, I'm not speaking out of strength or weakness. I'm just saying I'd rather see a peace deal than the other, but the other will solve the problem.
The other would be U.S. military action, which the president says would be very bad for Iran. Ryan Ruth, the man federal agents say was hiding in the bushes with a rifle at a Trump golf course in Florida last year, appearing in federal court today.
Where his defense attorney argues that federal prosecutors aren't turning over all their discovery material, but both sides agree they can be ready for a trial scheduled for this coming September. A second hearing is being conducted under wraps due to classified matters involved.
Fox's Evan Brown. Ruth could face life in prison if he's convicted on attempted assassination charges. The government is terminating its collective bargaining agreement with 47,000 transportation security officers. Their TSA union calls it an unprovoked attack, but Homeland Security says the union has allowed unproductive workers to remain on the job, threatening airport security. After sharp losses earlier, Wall Street is back in positive territory. The Dow up nearly 239 points. NASDAQ is trading 90 points higher, the S&P 500 adding 29. America is listening to Fox News.
During tax season, your info travels lots of places you can't control.
W-2 arriving from payroll platform 3.
Everything criminals need to steal your identity is on your W-2.
Last call for accountant and home office, 1 minute.
LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second.
Tax preparation data centers with service to IRS. All aboard.
If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
68 for the high. Partly sunny skies. Cold front comes in tonight. Winds turn to the northwest. Cloudy skies. Couple of rain showers. Gusty winds. Could even be a couple of sloppy wet snowflakes late tonight, 36. Weekend is dry. Sunny and cool on Saturday, 53. Sunday, sunny and 58. Sunset Sunday, 7:02 with the time change. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-656-1551. That's 800-656-1551. 800-656-1551.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait
for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrallNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
When you have Rhino Shield on your house, it does a couple of things for you. It beautifies the house, and it protects it from the harshest elements. And boy, do we see those here in the greater St. Louis area. You get instant curb appeal. It will stick to anything. Rhino Shield is the answer, no matter whether you're painting a home or a church or a business or a condo, because it's 100% waterproof. It takes care of the outdoor maintenance on whatever is on the outside of your home. The brick, the block, aluminum, steel, stucco. They can put this on with the 2 to 3 coat process. They're there about a week, and they do a great job. A lot of businesses have done it in the area. Several Firestones have done that. Vantage Credit Union over the years. Harlan Packaging down in DeSoto. Call Darren today and schedule your free estimate. 877-25-RHINO. Easy to remember phone number. Or go online today at 877-25-RHINO.com.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. Victim of a car accident? Not choosing the best lawyer will cost you. But here's the good news. Since you don't pay unless we win, you can afford the very best. Kaufman Townsley. Call 314-500-5000.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what you're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show.
Yeah, this is the Annie Frey Show, but Annie is out for the day, so you get just the guys. It's the Mannie Frey Show, as we like to call it. Ryan and Brad are here taking over for Annie, and I was so excited when I found out that I get to be here for Michael Winslow, the man of 10,000 voices. He is in studio, along with Morgan Preston. Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for having us here in the wonderful.
Nice door.
Is that what you say? Is that what you say when you walk in the door? Is nice door?
Absolutely.
Depends on what it
I
is.
hang out with a suit. It's a different world. He's definitely making noises as we move along. And I'm like, was that a real bird? Is that Michael? Oh, now he's talking to birds, and it is. Some of them are real.
Oh, we were outside for a second.
That's just the
I heard
Midwest.
yesterday. I heard you because you were in the building yesterday. I heard you do a baseball crack. And then the crowd, and it sounded exactly like a live broadcast of a baseball game.
It's baseball, man.
Well, can you do it? Can
Blues,
you do it,
baby?
I got to request it.
Okay. Okay, ready for that first pitch? Swing and a miss. And here's the next one. I'm going to throw this mother. I'm going to throw this.
It's amazing. I don't want to cut you off. Are you?
No,
okay.
we're good. Remember, I can bleep my own cuss words.
That's right.
Okay, I got you then. Now I
That's
don't need
right.
this. I don't need this dump button.
Michael Winslow, man, you're a legend.
I love that you just go.
Dump button activated.
My gosh, it's incredible.
Love that.
I said, Michael, you want to introduce yourself? Because you can do 1,000 voices and things, and I don't do that, though. So,
I'm not introducing myself. That's not.
Because that way I get to mess with you while you're doing stuff.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely do. So you're a legend. It's so cool to talk
Thank
to
you
you.
for having me, man. It's good to see you.
Brad and I were talking before you came in, I think in the middle of the last hour. We said, my gosh, this guy has been a part of pop culture for decades.
I guess I started in 19...
Yeah.
How did you start?
You remember 19 around there?
Yeah.
Michael, how did you start? You probably get this question a lot, but did you discover just at an early age, oh my gosh, I can mimic anything?
Well, talking to animals was okay. The dog was okay, and the cats were all right. They tell you stuff about what's going on the base. I grew up on Air Force bases, so the animals will tell you what's on the base and tell you what's going on. But getting into humans was difficult because we moved every 2.5 years. So you kind of make up your own soundtrack.
So you were a military kid?
Yeah, Air Force brat. Because when you're up in Montana, it's
the High Line, Glasgow. It's not pretty. It's
here's dinner. Let's go, Dad. No, it wasn't like that at all.
But you moved every couple of years.
Oh yeah.
And
you understand.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big military area. We Scott Air Force Base is here.
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is. We're not allowed to talk about it.
And then when I was walking in here, I saw a raccoon. I don't know. I'm just trying to say. I don't even know what I'm setting up.
What are you trying to tell me? Man, you cannot have my A&W root beer. Get out of here, Racky.
I can't believe you were able to do it. I thought I picked an animal that didn't have noise, yet you knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, giraffes have noises. It's just that they take their heads and... Hey, stop it, long-necked giraffe. Don't you hit my car again, man. Just wax this thing. Hey, stop it.
Michael...
Yeah, don't you drool on my... Hey. Dang. What's up, Raph? Come on, man. Damn, they even gallop in slow motion.
So how did you
Giraffes gallop in slow motion. You notice it?
So your dad was in the Air Force?
Yes.
What did he do?
Well, I had to start from the beginning. He was Air Force. It was like a 40-year man. Well, Air Force, and then Army Air Corps before that, and then Tuskegee before that.
Tuskegee?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
You guys just did a tour. Morgan and Michael, you guys were overseas for how long?
A few months. We covered let's see, Poland, Hungary, Albania, Romania, Portugal, and then the Middle East we did.
All for the troops, right?
Yeah. We go to the military bases. I try to bring a little bit of home to all the folks that are out there because they're a long way out there and they're sitting in those tanks, armored personnel carriers, helicopters, everything. They're just sitting there, and they got all the comforts from home, all the videos and all the games that you can have. But it's better to have something live.
Yeah.
To just remind them that I'm bringing them something from home, and that's what I did. We covered every place we could from
Cuba.
We did Gitmo too, Abu Dhabi. We did Kuwait, everything. We covered as much as possible.
Now these
Poland was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Are they big crowds? Do they vary depending on the base?
The barracks is full, but sometimes they get called out on if they got to go out on call or unload something or go out on call. There'll be 3 people. Doesn't matter.
Just leave and go to work.
Yeah,
oh, man.
No kidding.
And we'll try to record something for them to watch later, but it doesn't matter. We're there. Everybody's operational. Those kids are great. They're operational. They miss everybody from home, but you know what? They're there. They're ready. Those kids are great.
You said those kids. Do they know you?
I'm 66.
Yeah, but do they know do they know your movies? Do they recognize you?
Police Academy 1 through Infinity.
Yeah.
Spaceballs at Mel Brooks. Yeah, they've seen it. They saw AGT
because that's the minute I said Michael Winslow, everybody started quoting Spaceballs and Police Academy.
Well, that's what's crazy is overseas like that. A lot of that stuff runs like. Police Academy is a Christmas movie in Germany.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight up.
Why?
And in Finland, every holiday they'll run one of the 7 police academies.
And you've been in all 7, right?
1 through Infinity.
Have you seen that they're maybe doing a new one?
Yes, we are aware of the. The Police Academy thing is still in development.
Yeah.
Because we're not sure what's going to happen now because the executive producer passed away over Christmas.
Oh, no, really?
So the whole thing, we're waiting to see what happens and what happens next. But Spaceballs 2 is underway and in development.
What?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Mel Brooks and Josh Gad. But see, Mel's 98, so they got to get on it. And he's not going to put out a half anything. So they're going to make sure that it's written right. So that's going to be fun no matter what happens.
Yeah.
I at least get to be in the first one.
Man, that's exciting. Yeah, and
Yes,
the more we talk about it, the more it's showing up in my feed. I think
It's there.
We've been mentioning you probably for a couple days since we knew you were coming in, all of a sudden I'm looking at Facebook and it's reminding me about Spaceballs and stuff. It's like, oh, you must be listening.
Yeah,
because
for real.
we just start talking about these things. But talk a little bit about your show. So you're in town. You have a show. Let's see the times. I want to get them right.
We have
7:30 tonight.
We have 5 more shows.
9:30 tonight. 7:30, 9:30 tonight. Saturday, that's tomorrow, 6 and 8:30, and then Sunday at 6 p.m. Walk through a little bit of what your show's like.
Well, the Sunday show is going to be an open jam. So if anybody wants to get your instruments, you want to come out and want to play some music.
A lot of music.
Open jam, as in anybody who is a musician can come to the show.
Yeah,
We'll back it
if
up.
it's angry slam poetry, we'll put some.
Bring him a cappuccino.
I hate donuts. Well, at least you didn't say mustard. Okay, fine. Well, water, ketchup.
Michael, I've heard you talking about the scenes that you do.
syrup.
You're all ad lib.
Chocolate.
Are you fully ad lib the whole time?
Well, yes and no. This is a music show. This is a music.
That one
noises.
is, yeah.
Music noises.
Okay.
So all you Led Zeppelin fans should be pretty happy tonight when you see the show. If you're curious about that, just go to www.michael. Just go to YouTube and type in Michael Winslow Led Zeppelin. And it'll come up from Norway.
We've been recently doing a lot
Norway
of collabs.
feed.
A lot of collabs with musicians. Like he did some stuff with Run the Jewels. He was on the Victor Wooten album. And he just did
John Anderson. The song's called "Makes Me Happy."
Yeah, that's the
check out the alternative.
Wait, are you a musician or are you just
this
using?
is the greatest vocalist that ever lived, but does comedy.
Yeah,
did a comedy movie, and now people don't realize.
Yeah.
All that guitar stuff is all real. Like
that's what the live
Led
show
Zeppelin
is.
thing goes viral every 6 months. Like,
Really?
The Michael Winslow Led Zeppelin from Norway. And I heard that the Jimmy Page saw that one. He saw that one. So I said, okay, this is great. He saw that one. But our job is to help everyone forget about the rent for an hour. We got a lot of music noises. I hope you Radiohead fans are happy. I hope you hip-hop fans are happy. There's going to be a little bit of something for everybody on this particular show.
Wow, Radiohead and hip hop.
Radiohead, hip hop,
and Pink Floyd,
reggae music, Pink Floyd, and his cousin Red Walter. but we try to cover everything possible because I'm a Gorillaz fan from way back in the day. So
some of that
and also there's a little Fleetwood Mac and cheese. You just never know what's going to happen with my particular shows. Normal is overrated without barbecue sauce.
The man of 10,000 voices, Michael Winslow, is here. I got to ask you just about development. Are you able to? You're so famous for doing the sounds. Are you able to hear something and just immediately go boom and just nail it, or is there a process?
Well, there's a process because first of all, I have to have a need for the darn thing.
Yeah,
I'm going to kill myself to come up with a noise that I have no place to place it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
like to use in material. Right?
Got, I have to have a
or music
or anything else. I mean, I'll end up doing that song with John Anderson, which makes me happy. They wanted a beatbox, complete track, for them to start their whole song off, and then they add in Tower of Power horns, and then they add in other things. But that's John,
You just did the intro for Howard Stern's.
You see what I mean? And that's completely different.
Yeah, Great American Nightmare, Rob Zombie, and he did all.
I had to do the whole thing over.
When you listen, you're like, how is it even?
And we can't play that here, but you can listen to it later, and listen to it. It's like a 30-track bed of surround. I hope Mr. Zombie ain't gonna come after me for that.
A lot of people commenting in the chat. They're just excited to see you here.
Absolutely.
They're asking, I think, about the show, maybe just in general, but people asking, do you take requests and things like that? Like for a scenario?
We don't open it up like that.
You don't open it up.
I mean, people yell some stuff.
I'm sure
we
they
might
do
it.
Yeah.
If we decide to.
Depends on what we end up, because we're tuning the radio, man. We're like. And now we'll be right back after this. You just never know what's going to happen.
Bravo.
You just never know.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you here, and in studio and in St. Louis too. We just appreciate you making time for us, and hopefully the shows are going great.
Oh, no, the drones again.
Got my Taco Bell for nothing.
It's incredible to watch him do it.
Yeah.
It's because radio is perfect for you, because if you're listening, you're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. But if you're tuning into the stream and you watch him do it, and this is what it would be at the shows, you get to see him actually do these things.
And people can make noises. I can teach you all how to do stuff. You can have so much fun with all this.
Michael,
and when you get in trouble and you ask me to help you, I can. My name is Kevin Hart.
A friend of mine, his name is Sato. I've done some film stuff, and he's like always in it with me. We growing up and through college, I kid you not, we were so bad at doing sound effects that we would together go, oh hey, Michael Winslow, and we'd do a sound effect, but it was terrible. And so the joke was, oh yeah, you're just as good as Michael Winslow, even though we knew we were awful. So
and when the cop pulls you over and he starts doing Michael Winslow to you guys,
yeah.
And because yours is passable, he lets you go.
That's going to be my go-to, because my wife likes to cry when that happens.
Really?
It doesn't work for a guy.
Here's one. He goes, "Hurt, sign here, and here." Oh no, scratch that one.
It shows.
See, you can make noises. I swear, you can do this. Just not in front of a cat.
It's incredible. I hope this is watching him do it and listening to him do it are two completely different things. And so I want you to go see him in person.
See him live.
Shows at the St. Charles Funny Bone tonight, 7:30, 9:30. Tomorrow, 6 and 8:30. The crowd's going wild. Sunday at 6 p.m. is the open
and also,
jam.
Don't forget Morgan Preston, comedian from the Rock and Roll Comedy Circus of Death tour.
I'll be running the sound and making sure.
Yeah, that's why Weird Al took him with him for a while.
You guys have been on tour with everybody. It's a privilege to have you here. Thank you so much for coming back today. And we look forward to hearing how things go this weekend.
So are we.
Yeah, I'm sure. How was last night?
It was good.
It was
We had
good.
a great time.
We were
Fun crowd.
it's like frying bacon.
Learned about a town called Florissant.
Yeah.
Let me flip that over.
Can I have some?
Here you go, man.
Oh, thanks. Is that Kobe beef?
No, it's hash, baby.
Oh.
Corned beef.
I'll bring it back later.
I've never heard that over Aerosmith before.
It's a sweet emotion. I have.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks for being here, you guys. It's the Annie Frey Show, Mannie Frey Show today on 97.1 FM Talk.
The website is retirementkey.com, but you know we've talked about them. We've talked with them here on the Annie Frey Show. Thomas Helbig, Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group. We are all together inviting you out to the March Protecting Your Retirement educational event. Here, write this down, get a grab a pen, sketch it down, maybe type it into your phone, send it to your spouse or your significant other. Tuesday, March 25th at the Frontenac Hilton. The event starts at 6:30 p.m. and it's free. It costs you absolutely nothing. I get there 30 minutes before the event begins. Mark Cox, Mark Reardon will as well. And we love this opportunity to shake your hand, to get to know you a little bit. And thank you for listening and being part of the 97.1 family. But then you get to, at 6:30, listen to a relatively short little thing from the folks at the Retirement Advisory Group about how you can prepare yourself and make that transfer from working transition into your retirement and be worry-free. Like I said, it's free. You just need to reserve your spot. Find them right now at 314-993-9494 and reserve your spot. Tell them the Annie Frey Show sent you, retirementkey.com.
Hi, Chad Hansen from Hansen's Tree Service. Winter is the best time to remove dead and dangerous limbs from your trees before a winter storm brings them crashing down. Give us a call today or check us out at hansenstree.com and take advantage of our great winter discount.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid members. If you need assistance with daily living, you can receive a free service from Freedom Care in your own home from a loved one who lives with you. With Freedom Care, you decide who provides your daily care, helping you with preparing meals, bathing, laundry, transportation, and more. A family member or friend that gets paid instantly. It's all through Medicaid, and as a St. Louis resident, it's 100% free to you. New to Medicaid, the Freedom Care family will guide you through enrollment, making it stress-free for patients and caregivers. With over 7,000 five-star Google reviews, we've perfected at-home care for Medicaid members and caregivers. If you live in the St. Louis area, this service is free to you through Medicaid, and with our InstaPay app, caregivers can choose to get paid instantly. So go to freedomcare.com or call 314-697-4912. 314-697-4912. That's 314-697-4912.
Don't miss Mosby Building Arts Home Improvement Show, Saturdays from 12 to 1 p.m. on 97.1. One of the last call-in shows where you can get live answers to your remodeling, design, and construction questions. Tune in Saturdays at noon.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is proud to support Greater St. Louis Honor Flight. Sign your veteran up for the Honor Flight today at gslhonorflight.org. And for HVAC services, visit aircomfortservice.com.
The Mark Reardon Show.
Selena Zito.
We should not be drawing attention to ourselves. We should be reporting on the news. And when we make it about our feelings are hurt and we don't want to do this, that's fine, but there's consequences.
The Mark Reardon Show. Weekdays from 3 to 6. You're listening to The Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Frey Show.
I should move because New York is getting muddy out. There's LA, but it's always kind of sunny out.
Well, if I didn't mention the website, it's stlouisfunnybone.com, stlouisfunnybone.com. They'll be at the St. Charles Funny Bone tonight, 7:30 and 9:30, tomorrow, 6 and 8:30, and Sunday at 6 p.m. That sounds like a unique show where people just bring their instruments and just jam.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things, like, we had, what's his name? I can't think of his name now. He did Adam Schiff and Joe Biden on Gutfeld.
Oh, Tom Shalhoub.
Tom Shalhoub came on, and Tom Shalhoub had a different style comedy show than what you're used to. And so, like, it was really good. And I think that if you go and see this tonight, you're going to get something not similar to Shalhoub's show, but something different that you're not going to expect from a regular comedy show. And I think, like they were saying, is going to be music. He's going to play.
It's so freeform. That's why I said I didn't know if you took requests or whatever, because it just was like flow.
Yeah.
it was very different. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. I was looking up Spaceballs 2 in the break, and there's a move. I don't know if it'll actually be called this, but you'll remember the joke. Spaceballs 2, The Search for More Money.
Yeah, I remember the joke.
They're talking about maybe calling it that.
I love it.
I'm not sure. But gosh, I hope. It's just like, are you a Star Trek guy? I can't remember. You're more a Star Wars guy. But are you a Trek guy at all?
Not really.
So in the Star Trek world, there's a debate as to whether they should bring William Shatner back in because they've really moved beyond that version of Trek.
Well, I know, like, with Star Trek, you've got to, like, continuation is very important. And so to introduce a new James Kirk, they had to they had to come up with a canon reason why it wasn't William Shatner's character anymore, and they did some sort of like space thing where his dad got killed.
It's a new timeline.
It was a time travel, and then it shifted the timeline.
Yeah, I'm nerdy enough that I know that that's called the Kelvin timeline.
The Kelvin timeline.
Mm-hmm.
You are
the new
nerd.
movies. Yeah.
You are a nerd.
But there was talk of, because they brought back Spock.
Yeah,
they brought back Leonard Nimoy as Spock, not just the character, but Leonard Nimoy. Right. But they didn't bring back William Shatner.
Alternate timeline Shatner.
Yeah, and the fans were really divided over. I mean, it was like 10 years ago now, maybe more. But I really wanted to see William Shatner back in that role. I'm a fan of the OG Star Trek. So I naturally wanted to see as much of the cast as possible, but there are very few of them still alive. And William Shatner might be one of the only ones, other than, I think, Chekhov is still alive, whatever his name is. But yeah, I would love to see Michael Winslow, even if it's just cameos or whatever. Yeah. Like, bringing those guys back is so cool.
Or just have him do all the sound effects for everything on the ship.
Well, in doing the bit of research that I did, ahead of interviewing him, I was looking up, how those scenes went, because that's really, like, there's a lot of things. If you look up his IMDb, Michael Winslow's been in a lot of stuff. But he legitimately has been in every single Police Academy movie, and there are 7 of them. And there's talk about making a new one, but he just broke that news to me that apparently the guy pushing the new one. But he's been in every single one of those movies. And when he said how the scenes would go, especially with Mel Brooks, they would just improv. And they would all, he'd only been in, I should probably have asked him this, but we just didn't have enough time. But he had only been in the movie for, maybe a day of shooting. And then, usually they go home. But with Mel Brooks, he would want everybody to stay and just get to know each other. And so they even if you only had one scene, you'd be a part of hanging out for weeks with the whole cast because he wanted you guys to gel and he thought it made things funnier. And so Michael, I've heard him tell the story that he was on that set for, a few weeks, even though he was really only shooting for one day and got to know everybody. And that Mel Brooks and Rick Moranis were actually co-directors of that movie.
Oh, okay.
Or Rick Moranis had something to do with the direction of the movie.
Right.
And I don't think I knew that. But gosh, that was a lot of fun. Bucket list item to interview Michael Winslow.
Crazy.
And the stories that I told, about a friend of mine were true, that we would go like, oh, hey, I'm going to open this car door. And we're obviously terrible at it. We're like, hey, I'm like Michael Winslow.
No, you're not.
So to get to tell him that was a little bit surreal.
Yeah, it's kind of cool how the whole thing developed. Ron was the guy. If you guys are watching, Ron was the guy standing silently behind me. But he's his job is basically to, whenever a comedian comes in, he reaches out to radio stations and he drives them around and makes sure that they're taken care of while their shows are going on. Because you got shows at 6:00 at night, and then you've got nothing to do for the rest of the day before your next show. So Ron kind of just hangs out with them. Well, Ron reached out after you and I had that conversation about that story. We were just having it in the office.
Yeah, the behind the scenes here. Last week, the friend of mine that I used to do that with, who's like my director and film project guy, happened to be in town. He had a new movie opening here in town, and he said, hey, you should come out to this. And so last Friday I did. It was at the Americas Center. It was packed. I couldn't believe it. It's a movie about the world of haunted houses. It's a documentary. Really ended up being very good. It's called the Fright Stuff. I don't know if he's actually made it available yet. This was like the first screening. But he was in town, and I said, oh, hey, Chris, it's good to see you. And then right when I met up with my friend, Brad texts me and goes, hey, Michael Winslow is maybe going to be in town, and would you like to have him on? I'm like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe it. I'm talking to the guy that used to do that joke with. But it's cool to just behind-the-scenes stuff, be able to create this relationship that I know Annie has really tried to foster with a lot of these comedians. And naturally, that came from first talking to Tyrus. I mean, he's really been our introduction into a lot of the comedy world. And I don't know that was his intention. He came from the world of wrestling, and he's just grown into this touring force. And Tyrus is constantly doing comedy tours now. And just having that in and being able to talk to the whole Gutfeld world. And I don't know if you saw this at the very end of February, Variety magazine finally honored Greg Gutfeld. Did you see this, you guys?
No, I didn't see this.
Yeah, Variety. Now, if you've seen Variety magazine, this is a far left publication. They, for whatever reason, used to do entertainment. Now they do entertaining politics, and they just make fun of conservatives. I don't know if they've had success at that or if they're trying to find a new lane or what, but they hate conservatives at Variety.
Right.
But they typically have been in the past a entertainment magazine. So they finally acknowledged Greg Gutfeld. They've been trying not to, but they did, and the name of the article was Late Night's New King. I mean, they finally said it.
It's about time.
Gutfeld's got this thing in the bag. And they did an interview with him. They went out and actually went to a coffee shop and did the Variety thing where it was real typical, exactly what you'd expect. It opens with Greg Gutfeld sits in a cardigan by himself, looking winsome into the corner into his coffee. It's exactly what you'd expect Variety and these articles to be like. They they did exactly that to Greg Gutfeld. So late night's new king. Yeah, I don't know how we segued into Gutfeld there, but it's been cool to be a part of the comedy world. And real quick, before we get to, what we'll make this segment short and get back to a break, we're going to have What Did I Miss coming up next. And that is a segment where we take everything from the week, stuff that we didn't talk about. And in Trump's America, there is a lot happening every single week. As I said in the first hour, driving in this morning, I was listening to a little NPR, and tariffs have been the news of the week. If you want to go back and get the podcast of this show, that's what we talked about pretty much the whole first hour is tariffs. And they were acknowledging. Do you remember Saturday Night Live in the first year of Obama's term? Part of their joke was that he wasn't getting enough done. And then they do that to presidents every now and then. They'll go, oh, well, you're not getting enough done. And they make fun of them. But really, when it's a liberal, they're telling them, do more.
Yeah.
Because we want you to do more. Even NPR had to say this morning, it's hard to keep up because there's so much happening. And in my personal life, weird segue here, but I've had people come to me and say, man, Ryan, are you, what about this issue? What about this issue? And I've had to kind of see through the question itself to figure out what exactly are you asking me here? Because I don't think you're asking me about tariffs. I don't think you're asking me about Ukraine. Mm-hmm. You're asking me, should I be worried? Because things are happening so fast.
Right.
And if I can try to see through the question, I know I'll try to answer it, but then I can see that the question is, gosh, is this all part of the plan? And the answer is, I don't know. I trust God that everything is part of the plan.
Right.
But I don't know if this is the pace at which the next 4 years is going to be like, or if this is just the first 100 days, coming out of the gate hot, making sure that everything gets done in the honeymoon phase so that he's got everybody on board. Because once we start getting into midterm time, there might be fractions here and there.
Yeah.
So just a potpourri of things in this segment that we're going to get to in the next segment as well with What Did I Miss? And Brad, I think we'll break early here so we can have some time to get to What Did I Miss in the next segment. If you haven't been a part of the show this week or you've kind of been in and out, we're going to catch you up on everything that's been happening during the week and maybe even some things that we didn't talk about in What Did I Miss? So stick around.
But I'm way less sad. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? No, I ain't happy yet. But I'm way less sad.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X @Annie Frey Show.
Make sure that you reach out to Air Comfort Service. You can go .com, aircomfortservice.com, to prep your home for those spring allergy season, all that ick that goes in the air. Man, it's so nice outside, and you're going on longer walks outside, enjoying all that sunlight, but then you're taking in all that pollen that's out there. You go in your home, that needs to be the place where you feel great. That needs the place where you're comfortable. And when you put in a whole home air purifier with Air Comfort Service, you actually get to do that. You can reach out to them at 314-513-0091. That's 314-513-0091. And talk to them about installing a whole home air purifier that will keep the dander out of the air in your house, will keep all the odors, the viruses that are lingering around. Get rid of all of that stuff in your home and fortify it with an air purifier from Air Comfort Service. 314-513-0091. That's 314-513-0091. Online at aircomfortservice.com.
Lifestyles Unlimited member Chad on the life-changing rewards of real estate investing.
Whenever you have residents coming in thanking you for taking what was dull and drab and turning it around, making their lives better, that's definitely a blessing.
Become a life changer today with Lifestyles Unlimited. Text the word radio to 88007. That's radio to 88007. Join for just $297. A 60% off savings. Lifestyles Unlimited. Text radio to 88007.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars Lose the Weight and Stop Smoking. Early bird specials $49.99. Seminar Sunday, March 16th, Aviator Hotel and Suites, South I-55, St. Louis. Weight loss 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Or Monday, March 17th, 4 Point Sheraton, St. Louis. Fairview Heights, Fairview Heights. Weight loss 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m.
Today's YouTube live chat poll is, are you pro-tariff or are you free market? Pro-tariff or free market? We want to know what your vote is, so jump on YouTube, type in Annie Frey, or you can go to youtube.com/@AnnieFryShow and vote in the poll. We'll want you to subscribe. It'll take about 5 minutes before you can comment, but go ahead and vote in that poll. Tell us why you voted the way you voted. Are you pro-tariff or are you pro-free market? And then also in town on the 22nd of this month. Tickets are still available, especially there are some VIP meet and greet tickets available. And if you're like, oh man, I already bought my tickets, but I don't have the VIP meet and greet, you can add that on still. So please jump on 971talk.com/events and you can upgrade your tickets if you already have your tickets, or if you don't have your tickets, you can buy new ticket, or you can buy tickets with that VIP meet and greet. And that VIP meet and greet is brought to you by Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group. So the time right now is 1:41. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
Brian Kilmeade here, and I'll be there on Saturday, March 22nd. Jot that down, at the factory in Chesterfield, in this engaging motivational journey through America's past. Tickets available at 971talk.com/events.
Sponsored by Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group.
Song of the South, sweet potato pie and a shut my mouth. Gone with the wind, there ain't nobody looking back again.
This is the Annie Frey Show. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
One of the big topics from this week has been the internal struggle in the Democrat Party. We were talking in the first hour how there's a kind of a debate going on, especially about tariffs in the Republican Party. But apparently the Democrats are, I don't know what I should say here, eating their own. I'm reading from the Axios article that is titled, Internal Democratic Tensions Erupt After Trump's Speech. And Axios is not a right-leaning publication. They are left-leaning for sure. And it says the party is in a rut, stumbling on finding the most effective counterattack to Trump's full-bore assault on the federal bureaucracy. That, I'm glad they at least said it instead of saying assault on democracy, which they usually do.
It's a threat to our democracy.
It's really true. Whenever you replace democracy with bureaucracy, it's accurate. That struggle played out on primetime television Tuesday night. Democrats have been bombarded by, and here's the real struggle, they've been bombarded by grassroots activists demanding they scrap all norms and traditions in favor of bare-knuckle political brawling. Well, that's why you're seeing what you're seeing, is because that's the activist group and the donor class that's controlling the Democrat Party right now. But as many party leaders and other establishment-oriented, probably more centrist Democrats believe, there is a more narrow, subdued approach that remains the most effective. A senior Democrat told Axios that some moderates are angry at progressives for their outbursts, but added that people are PO'd, I'll say, at leadership too. Everyone is mad at everyone. So that's why you're seeing this happen, this boiling over that's happening on the national stage, because there's internal fighting, which honestly you don't see a whole lot in the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
It's because they don't have a leader.
There's nobody at the top. That's exactly right.
I saw somebody say this week that it's because Nancy Pelosi has started to step down.
That would make sense.
She's still there, but she's not the pit boss as she used to be, who kind of whipped everybody in order. And since she's not doing that, there's nobody doing it, and it's just all over the place. Add to that Trump is just an immovable object and a unstoppable force at the same time. And yeah, what are you going to do? So let's get to what did I miss, Brad?
What did I miss?
What did I miss?
All right, so this is the clips that you have missed from the week, or that Annie has missed. But now, since Annie's not here, we'll just play them.
She'll still miss them.
But this is Representative Catherine Clark. She's the Democrat minority whip, and she's from Massachusetts. And this was her reaction to Trump's State of the Union speech.
I am angry today. I am angry what I saw, that president of the United States who ran and had people vote for him because he said he was going to cut their costs, he was going to make sure they had a chance at the American dream, has come in with an unelected, richest man on earth and taken a chainsaw to everything we care about, everything the American people put their trust in him to do. It is a betrayal. It is a betrayal. So let's not talk about decorum when the plot is exposed and reiterated every single day. You take people's health care, you take our veterans' benefits, you take funding for our public schools, and you do it all of it, to give a tax cut to the very wealthiest people who won't even notice it, but whose greed knows no bounds.
All right, Ryan. So I'm just going to ask you real quick. Is this what you voted for?
Well, I'll ask you back. Has there been a tax cut for the rich?
I don't know what she's talking about.
They keep saying that, but the budget hasn't even been passed. And in fact, right now they're talking about just a continuing resolution, which is the same thing it has been.
Well, so the thing that's interesting to me is that the tax cuts that they're whining about, that they're saying are the tax cuts for the rich, are the same tax cuts that they left in place when Joe Biden took over, because they knew if they changed that actually the middle class people and the lower class people that also got tax cuts from the Trump tax cuts, their taxes would go up and they would get hammered.
Yeah, it sounds like talking points delivered with emotion, which is most of the
yeah,
time
that's
what it is.
Pretty much it.
Before you play your next one, I want to play one. This is yesterday. Now, you've heard the talking point a lot of times by now, that Elon Musk is doing this just to enrich himself. But CNN accidentally put a giant hole in that talking point yesterday.
Yeah, Boris, it's taken a really very significant hit. So far this year, Elon Musk's net worth has declined by about $97 billion. That doesn't even count today's stock drop. And this makes sense because not only is Elon Musk the biggest shareholder in Tesla, Tesla accounts for a significant chunk of his wealth. But look, obviously people are not going to feel too terribly for Elon Musk because he is still the richest person in the world, and by a long shot. Look at that. His net worth is still up. Is actually more than $100 billion on the next closest person. But his lead in the rankings of the richest people in the world has gotten a bit slimmer in recent days and weeks as we've seen Tesla's share price fall further and further.
Well, we hate Elon Musk, so we're going to do a victory lap on him and then undermine our own point that he's just trying to enrich himself.
So you mean to tell me he's not making billions off, he's not stealing money from the government?
That would be around a quarter of his net worth that he's lost since he went into the public service, I guess.
When I was pulling that audio, they put the graphic up and they show like who he was still over. And the fact that he lost $97 billion and he's still over $200 billion in net worth is wild.
Yeah. You know, what you naturally would do, if it were true that you were just doing this to enrich yourself, and you found out that, oh, man, the things that I'm doing have made me unpopular enough that they've caused boycotts or whatever else, there's lots of factors that have contributed to his net worth going down. But whatever it is, you would say, oh, shoot, if I'm doing this to enrich myself, I lost a quarter or more of my net worth. I'm going to back out of this thing because it's costing me money. So the motivation seems dubious at best.
So this next clip is the Honorable Bernie Sanders, and he's reacting. Do you remember in the not the State of the Union, the joint address to Congress, that Donald Trump mentioned that there were 150, 200, even 300-year-old people receiving Medicare or Medicaid?
Yeah.
Or Social Security, I think it was. Bernie Sanders responded to that saying this.
Nobody who was 150 years old or 200 years old or 300 years old is receiving Social Security checks.
Do you disagree with him?
No, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, that's the point. Exactly, Senator Sanders. Nobody is receiving that, which is why we want to know who it is that's actually doing it, who's actually getting this money. And we want to figure that out so that we stop paying money in paying out fraudulent checks. Or at least, are these checks being cashed?
I've seen a lot of people discussing why there would be fraudulent Social Security numbers beyond just, oh, I want to collect a free check every month. Because some of it probably would be that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's Social Security fraud, there's fraud and everything. So eliminating that is fine. But also that one of the reasons people are so nervous, and this is a theory, I don't know if this is true or not, I'm just saying, this is what I've read and heard, that if there are that many Social Security numbers that are fake or fraudulent or being used inappropriately, like if it's somebody who's died and they're just reusing it, that you can use that Social Security number for far more than just getting Social Security money.
Right.
You can use it to establish citizenship. You can use it to sign up to vote is the big one that people keep talking about.
Yeah.
That, look, if you find that these Social Security numbers are fake or they're from people who are dead and they're still being used to vote, especially in swing states, then you're on to a bigger problem and a bigger crime being committed. And that's the discussion that's happening right now.
So this next clip that I have, I don't know if you had a chance to watch Outnumbered prior to our show. It was on Big Fox. It's it's the show that goes until noon our time. And the one lucky guy, the guy that they had on the show was Speaker Johnson. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Speaker Johnson and J.D. Vance got caught with a hot mic prior to the State of the Union, or the joint address. Joint address to Congress. I'm going to stumble over that all the time, but this is what they had to say.
By the way, I think the speech is going to be great, but I don't know how you do this for 90 minutes.
The hardest thing was doing it during Biden, when the speech was a stupid campaign speech.
So I don't know if you caught that or not, but what happens there is J.D. Vance looks over. There's a hot mic, the mic in front of the speaker and the vice president, and J.D. Vance leans over to Speaker Johnson, and what he says is, by the way, I think this speech is going to be great, but I don't know how you guys can do this for 90 minutes. And Speaker Johnson, in a moment of levity and in a moment of candidness, says, the worst was Biden, because all that was a stupid campaign speech.
The best thing about it, if you're watching it, we just played it on the stream too, is that Mike Johnson is at least somewhat aware that there could be a hot mic,
be hot.
And he pushes the mic all the way down, and he pushes the wrong one down because the one he pushed down didn't make a difference. It was the other one that was sticking up, and he still picked up everything.
So on the show today, they asked him about that, and he started to apologize, and the ladies were like, "No, don't apologize. This is one of those great moments. This is a good hot mic. You didn't do anything wrong." And he goes, "Yeah, they got me though. You never know when those mics are on, and I just got to be more careful about it." So,
just a question: would you believe that they would ever stage something like that? Like that a politician or entertainer, for that matter, would stage a fake hot mic?
Would they? Yes, there are certain politicians that I think would. Mike Johnson doesn't make it into that category for me.
Yeah, he just doesn't see.
No.
And plus, the fact that he reaches over and does push that mic aside because he thinks that's the one that's on, that suggests that was real.
Yeah. My next clip here is one from, it's actually Hakeem Jeffries, and it's one of the craziest things I have heard a Democrat say in a while. And he's talking about the southern border. And I'll get this pulled up here in just a second. But
he gets a question about the border.
Yeah,
I know that. I haven't seen the clip.
He's on with Wolf Blitzer, and this is what he says.
National security interests. Look,
what we've seen from the Trump administration over the last several weeks is just a flood of unprecedented extremism and a parade of horribles that continue to be unleashed on the American people. While at the same time, the Trump administration is not focused on solving the problems of everyday Americans. We're continuing to make sure that we focus on trying to make life better for everyday Americans. Fundamentally, that's why we were sent to Washington, D.C. We have to drive down the high cost of living. We have to secure the border. We have to keep communities safe. We have to protect our dreamers and farm workers and families. These are the things that matter, as opposed to creating crisis-like moments when we should be coming together and demonstrating leadership for the free world.
As you know,
Oh, man. He basically says there that the Democrats are the one that are actually securing the southern border, not Republicans. He's saying that Republicans aren't actually securing the border, which I think is just kind of leftover jargon from whenever he was, whenever you remember leading up to the election, they were like, oh, we're going to secure the border and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, Republicans have been blocking the bill.
Yeah.
We'd do it if they just passed HB 2.
Man, these guys are just a machine anymore, and they just, whatever is pumped into them, they pump out, and they just are on autopilot. And I think that's what you're seeing there, because since the Trump administration has taken over, border crossings have fallen by 94%.
It's almost immediate.
It's
almost immediate, and
wild.
it's completely closed now. I mean, you have a tiny, tiny number of people coming across the border. The bigger issue is the deportations. They're trying to keep up with the amount, but I think their goal was 1,000 a day.
Yeah.
I think they've come close to that. I haven't seen a recent number within the last week, but they were close to that. The problem is, I was doing the math. If you get 1,000 illegal immigrants a week for 4 years, you still don't really make a huge dent in the 10 to 12 million people that came across the border in the last 4 years.
Really difficult to remove that many people. But the thing is all you had to do was replace the president and enforce the laws that were on the books, and then the crossings would stop. And so the bleeding has stopped.
Democrats, if I were a Democrat right now, I would be looking at Hakeem Jeffries and going, dude, this is your moment. There is no opposition voice, and he's just not very good at it.
Flailing.
Yeah, there's another clip of him going around right now that he gets asked about girls and boys sports, and it is just a train wreck. So they just don't have a voice. Well, this is the Annie Frey Show. The Mannie Frey Show will continue in the next hour.
Oh, that we couldn't tell.
Do you ever wonder if you've saved enough to retire? Discover how you could make your money go a lot further in retirement in a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Hey guys, it's Dave Glover here. This one-night class is taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects with decades of financial planning experience, and they're held at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You'll learn about reducing your taxes, maximizing your Social Security, paying for health care, and more. There's no cost. We would ask that you bring 3 canned goods that we're going to pass on to the St. Louis Crisis Nursery. So you have 2 jobs when it comes to retirement, in my humble opinion. One is saving the money, putting it away. And then the other, just as important, is how do you take it out and what do you do with it after that? Find out at Retirement Planning 101. Simply call 314-350-8110. Again, no money necessary. 314-350-8110. 350-8110.
We're here early before they wake up. We stay late. We stay informed. We invest in the latest technology.
We take the time to train the next generation of doctors and nurses. We work together to make sure we heal their bodies and their minds.
We do this not because it's our job, but because this is about our veterans' lives. This is our mission. More than 300,000 of us working as one, together with families and loved ones. No matter where they live in this country, we'll be there.
We all come together and stand together to serve our veterans. We stand strong, united. Stand with us in caring for our veterans.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon from my friends at Zerorez, and I want you to beat the spring cleaning rush with big savings and priority booking by calling our heroes at Zerorez. If you missed out on earlier specials, this is the time to get your home freshly cleaned, the carpets, the floors, maybe even the upholstery. Zero Res removes winter's lingering grime, preparing your home for hopefully brighter days ahead. And spring, let's face it, is a time for renewal. So let Zero Res help you refresh your home with clean carpets, fresh floors, and improved air quality. For that, you want to do the ductwork. And here's the offer for the month of March. 3-room Zero Resified from St. Louis's #1 carpet cleaner, starting at $119. Also, take $75 off your air duct cleaning package. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy air. So book right now at 314-474-2020 or go to ZeroResSTL.com and say you want the 97.1 FM Talk special. You spell it backward or forward, it spells the same. Zero Res. Book today at ZeroResSTL.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
To stop the killing, I'm Jack Callahan, Fox News. But President Trump says Ukraine has become more difficult to deal with as he tries to bring both sides in the Russian invasion to the peace table.
I don't know that they want to settle. If they don't want to settle, we're out of there because we want them to settle. And I'm doing it to stop death.
The president says more than 2,000 human beings a week are being lost to the war. But Ukraine's President Zelensky, in his nightly address, telling Ukrainians the agenda is clear: peace as soon as possible, security as reliably as possible. He's vowed Ukraine is committed to the most constructive approach. After Russian missile attacks on Ukraine overnight, President Trump is also threatening Moscow with harsher economic sanctions. The president has written to Iran's Ayatollah, suggesting they negotiate a nuclear deal, saying the alternative is military action against Iran's nuclear program, which he says would be a bad thing for them. The president telling Fox's Maria Bartiromo.
The time is happening now. The time is coming up. Something's going to happen one way or the other.
The complete interview with the president will air on Sunday Morning Futures this weekend on the Fox News channel. The Department of Homeland Security says they have found the staffers who leaked information that have disrupted ICE raids in several cities. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem saying in a video release.
We have identified 2 leakers of information here at the Department of Homeland Security who have been telling individuals about our operations and putting law enforcement lives in jeopardy. We plan to prosecute these 2 individuals and hold them accountable for what they've done.
Several ICE raids recently have failed because of leaks to media and activists. Notorious Mexican cartel leader Ruben Oseguero Gonzalez, also known as El Menchito, has been sentenced to life in prison plus 30 years in order to forfeit $6 billion to the federal government. He's the son of the fugitive leader of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. America is listening to Fox News.
During tax season, your info travels lots of places you can't control.
W-2 arriving from payroll platform 3.
Everything criminals need to steal your identity is on your W-2.
Last call for accountant at home office. 1 minute.
LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second.
Tax preparation data centers with service to IRS. All aboard.
If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
68 for the high. Partly sunny skies. Cold front comes in tonight. Winds turned in the northwest. Cloudy skies. Couple of rain showers. Gusty winds. Could even be a couple of sloppy wet snowflakes late tonight, 36. Weekend is dry. Sunny and cool on Saturday, 53. Sunday, sunny and 58. Sunset Sunday, 7:02 with the time change. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Stewart's American Mortgage is the bagel loan guy. Stewie is there to help walk you through this process of getting your new mortgage. Now, a new mortgage might be on a new home, and when you go to get your new home, of course, you've picked out the perfect one. You want to put in an offer. You want to be accepted. It's a very exciting but also very stressful time. Make sure that you don't forget to shop for the best mortgage for you. You can't possibly get the best possible situation for yourself without calling Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage and talking to him about the bagel loan. Now, maybe there's somebody out there who can give you a better deal than Stewie, but I certainly didn't find that for myself, specifically with my mortgage refinance, which I did twice over the course of like 3 or 4 years with Stewie, because I could refinance at no cost to me, no closing costs at all. And I was able to secure both times a much lower rate. If you're looking for a mortgage, use the bagel loan and pay $0 in closing costs. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Mark Cox here. Are you looking for the perfect start to your child's education? At Kirk Day School, the early childhood program for ages 3 and 4 is where your little one will learn to thrive. They have hands-on activities, nurturing teachers, and a biblical worldview. You can attend their early childhood open house Friday, March 7th. Meet the dedicated educators, and tour their Christ-centered classrooms. To register for their early childhood open house and learn more, visit kirkdayschool.org.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for Underdog Fantasy, and from fast breaks to buzzer beaters to block parties, there's nothing as exciting as basketball. With Underdog, you can bring that excitement to wherever you watch. Playing on their app is as easy as choosing higher or lower on a player's stats, like threes made, points, rebounds, and more. Get those selections right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money. Millions of fans have won billions on Underdog. Will you be next? Join in on the fun by signing up for Underdog today using the promo code MARKR, and you'll get a free selection as part of your first cash entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. It's really easy. It's a lot of fun. You can make basketball picks. You can also create entries with other sports like the NHL, mix and match. You make the call. It's a lot of fun. Do not miss out. But again, when you sign up, don't forget to use the promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
It's Power Torque Tools DIY days at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Save $20 on a Power Torque 248-piece mechanics tool set. Power Torque professional hand tools have a lifetime guarantee. Available only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Let's support Heroes Care through comedy. Annie Frey here. Join Heroes Care at the Westport Funny Bone Sunday, March 23rd for stand-up from St. Louis's own Will O'Donnell. That's Sunday, March 23rd. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
They got someone here knows what they're talking about.
Left up, left right, gotta love this American ride.
You need to take some time to get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid, keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Frey Show. As usual, the chat is hopping, so get online, type in Annie Frey on YouTube, and be a part of the conversation. I always appreciate it because there's kind of a simultaneous conversation that happens to the one that's happening on the radio. And earlier this show, there was a big discussion about Blockbuster. And I was talking about tariffs at the time, so I couldn't really dive in and see what the heck you guys were talking about with Blockbuster.
Do you stand with Blockbuster?
Is this what was
I don't
going
know.
on?
I've seen this meme where, because it's the same colors as the Ukrainian flag.
Oh, is that what it is?
I stand with Blockbuster.
Oh, because I, in the break there, just looked up Blockbuster to find out why people were talking about it. And apparently, Blockbuster just filed a new patent that it might be coming back.
Ooh.
Here's the article, and I saw a few of them. One of them's like from New York Times talking about how DVDs are becoming popular again.
What?
I don't know. I'm a fan. I like physical media. But this article was the one that I'm like, what? Okay, I'll read it to you. Big news, 90s kids. Blockbuster may be coming back, but not quite in the way you'd expect. According to a post on Instagram, Blockbuster Video could be reincarnated as a nightclub, bar, restaurant, and amusement park.
That doesn't sound as good.
it doesn't sound like Blockbuster.
No.
Why? You're just buying the name.
Like I remember, like my thing about Blockbuster was walking into that video store that was just full of different movies, all arranged. It was like a library of VHS and DVDs. Smelled like stale popcorn. And I would always go in and straight over to the video game section. It's like, all right, which one is Sega Genesis? All right, here we are. And then, make my 3 selections that I wanted that I could never get through, and then bury my parents in late fees.
So you were doing this as a gamer?
Yeah. That was my favorite thing as a kid was to be able to rent a game.
Do you miss it? Do you miss going to the store to get a movie?
Yes.
I kind of do too.
Yeah. Like, I've told my wife this several times, but where we grew up, I grew up in Millstadt, and it was kind of closer to Cahokia. They're out in the country in that like general area. So we would go into Belleville, and there was a Schnucks there, and at the end of that Schnucks by the Skyview Drive-In. I don't know if you're familiar. with
yeah.
So that Schnucks there, down at the very end, there was a video store. It wasn't a Blockbuster video per se, but there was a video store, and there was a Little Caesars Pizza. And our Friday nights there were pizza and a movie.
Still is. Just doesn't include the trip to the store.
And so we would go in there, and they'd order the pizza. We'd drive in because that's about how long it took us to get there. The pizza would be making. We would go over to the video store. We would pick out. My mom would let myself, my brother, and my sister pick out a movie, and then my parents would get a movie that they would want to watch. And we would pick out a movie, and then get our pizza, then go home, and then with our stuffy noses, chewing with our mouth open, watch these movies and pizza, and it was just a really good time. And our friends loved to come over for pizza and a movie night and everything. I mean, that was what I grew up with. And the younger generations out there don't realize this because we didn't have the internet. That wasn't a thing. Streaming a movie, the thought that you could just stay at home and turn a movie on.
Well, you could turn on TV, but it was luck of the draw.
Yeah, luck of the draw. So,
is it only nostalgic because of the time in our lives that we're looking back on, or was there something special about going to the video store?
I think the nostalgia is because it was it was a treat.
My kids who don't go to a video store, they look back because we do Friday movie and a pizza.
They'll look back on the pizza
they look
and
back
a movie.
on that and
that'll
go,
be an event.
That was magic.
But it won't have the pomp and circumstance. Like, I'll ride with you. Who wants to go?
There was a little bit more of a process.
There was a mom and dad time, or dad would stay home and he would make the popcorn, and mom would go get the pizza and all this other stuff. I mean, I think
it's funny that this topic has come up today because in the last, couple months, as I scroll through Netflix or Paramount or whatever, Hulu, I'm looking at movies and I'm going, over and over and over and over. And finally you land on one that you're not usually going, ooh, you just go, okay, maybe I'll do that one. And I think about those movies for whatever reason the last couple months. I'm putting those movies on a shelf in a Blockbuster. And I'm thinking, would I have grabbed this off the shelf? And the answer was usually yes. I would grab that movie, but as I'm scrolling through them, I'm like,
the title doesn't do it. But the box art.
Well, there was something about committing to the movie, too.
Yeah.
Because as you're streaming it, you can get 15 minutes in and go, this doesn't really have me, and then try something else if you want to. But if you rented the movie, and not the times when you were getting 3 at a time, because that became a thing, too. But when you were going to the store and you're like, I'm going to rent this movie, this is going to be my night, you were committed, even if that movie sucked.
Yeah. Well, and then the other side of that, too, is do you remember going to a Blockbuster, and the way Blockbuster was set up, they had the box art box in front, and then the movie was behind it. And so going down the aisle of the new releases, and it's empty, 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 and then you find it.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I forgot about that.
Or you're like, it's all empty. Let me go check and see if somebody has
just
returned one.
Yeah.
And they'll go over and look at the box, and maybe 1 out of 7 times it's in the box, and they're like, yeah, they just got one returned. Great, I'll have it. And there's like, whoa!
Oh, yeah,
victory!
You hit the jackpot. Do you remember when a new movie would come out and it would be Transformers or something?
Right.
And you go, I'm going to go get Transformers. But somebody, and I don't know why Blockbuster or the video store would participate in this, because they were totally complicit.
Yeah.
They would have 40 titles of Transformers, but then right next to it, it would be Transformer. And it would be this B movie
Yeah.
that they made at the same. They knew this big one was coming out, so I'm going to make this B movie that cost $20, and then put it on the shelf, and they'd put it next to it, and you'd rent it.
It's the guy's hand moving Optimus Prime.
Yes,
across the
they were
screen.
always terrible. Or they'd get the old one
Yeah.
that was made 10 years ago
Yeah.
and put it right next to it. And if you weren't paying attention, and a lot of times they'd stick that one, somebody would.
Or
Usually
they put
a
it behind
kid
the wrong
would put
one.
it behind the wrong one, and you grab it. You wouldn't look that closely.
It's just Transformer.
You get home and you go, "What the heck is this?" Shia LaBeouf.
Because on the Blockbuster like generic box that they put them in, it just said it real
just said
small.
it, yeah.
On the very side, and then everything else was the Blockbuster logo. Yeah, and see, and I don't know where you grew up. If you grew up in town, like if you grew up in town, oh man, this is the wrong one. You could go make it right back.
Yeah.
Where I grew up,
you were out in the sticks.
I mean, like I said, it was a 15 to 20 minute drive in, so it's a 40-minute round trip. You were committed.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, I guess we're watching Transformer.
So just to let put a bow on this thing, if you want to go to a Blockbuster, apparently I looked up Blockbuster website too. Apparently they're owned by Sling TV.
Okay.
Because it says we're working on rewinding your movie, which I think means throwback. But while you wait, check out Sling TV. I'm assuming Sling TV owns the copyright for Blockbuster. But it says that, yes, you heard that right. You could be experiencing a Blockbuster-themed amusement park in the near future. The post revealed that the owner of Blockbuster trademark filed an application to use the brand in several new ventures. A publicly viewable application confirmed reports of a Blockbuster comeback and lists nightclubs, amusement centers, entertainment services in the nature of an amusement center attraction, as well as bar and restaurant services, snack bar services, as potential uses of the brand's new iteration. It would make sense to me to open not a nightclub in the typical sense of a nightclub, like going down to the landing.
Get the sequin shirt.
All the girls, it's 10 degrees out, and they're like wearing nothing. I'm going to Blockbuster.
Is it the booze or the shoes?
But it makes sense if you did a modern version of a movie theater. Because a lot of them would become not quite bars, but they're like full-service restaurants while you watch the movie.
What if it was a lounge that was like your living room?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I can
it's
see
like
that.
a big, like individual ones, but
and there's attachment to the brand,
right?
I mean, if you saw that tilted half blue movie up somewhere, I'd notice right away, and I would want to go see what that was. And if it was a theater that included maybe some other aspects of entertainment, I can maybe see that working. But if it's a full amusement park bar, I don't know. It just seems like you'd go in once and go, well,
this isn't the same.
You got the hook in my mouth once, but I don't know that I'm going to keep coming back. This is the last I can remember of physical media, because are there any DVD in-person stores that you know of in the St. Louis area anymore? I can't think of any.
Not off the top of my head.
If you're listening right now and you're like, oh yeah, there's this one store out in Chesterfield, like I would love to know if that store exists, and we'll totally give them a shout out. But the last ones I knew, they had Family Video.
Mm-hmm.
Those went under and they became some Marco's Pizzas, because I think they were the same company. And there was Redbox.
Family Video is funny because Family Video is still around, but they're real estate. So you said they became Marco's Pizza. They kept their company afloat because they were renting out. They owned all of their buildings.
Oh, so they just rent the buildings out.
They would rent the buildings out.
Because ours has become a Dollar General
right,
now.
They're renting that out.
Oh, well, that makes sense. But the Redbox still existed until a couple months ago. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, Redbox, you'd go into Walgreens or Walmart or wherever, and they'd have the little kiosk in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the last place you could still get physical DVDs by visiting a spot, And here's a weird personal anecdote. So if you listen to Wiggins America on the weekends, there's a guy that I would interview about once a month, maybe once every 2 months. His name's Chris Wilsey. Super cool guy, Christian guy, lives in LA, and he's a promoter of media. Like that's his job. And he has worked for different companies and stuff. So he was my streaming correspondent on Wiggins America because he was very much connected to the whole business. And he'd come on once a month or so and just give kind of some streaming recommendations. And it was a good segment. Well, part of the reason I started even talking to him originally was that he worked for Redbox, Crackle, and Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment. And at the time, I was still, I guess technically I've never stopped because we still have the show. I did a show for 2 years that was on PBS nationally, basically nationally, not every market, but most, called Songstage.
Okay.
And you've heard me talk about this randomly throughout the last 5 years. So right before I started working at 97.1, I owned a television production company, and our most successful show was Songstage. And we did 2 seasons of it. And ever since we got done with that, we could have kept going, but it was like public-ish media. We weren't making a lot. So we had success, but we wanted to kind of crack the ceiling and say, okay, now we're going to go commercial. Now we're really going to make it. Well, in TV, there's 2 ways that your business can go. You can either make it big or not make it at all. There's no in between. There's very little. And if you want to go in between, you probably end up a wedding videographer. Like that's usually the kind of middle path for video. So we said, let's just go for it. Me and Old Roy, who comes on my show, we went for it. And we got so close. I mean, we were in talks several times with people from NBC we talked to for a little while, to PureFlix, to all these random streaming outlets. We just had meetings, and we were real close a couple times, never quite got there. And one time, actually, the company that we were talking to had already committed to us, but then they talked to like a CEO who nixed the contract. And I was I'm done. I think I'm done with TV. And that's actually why I'm here. Like I said, I want to take a break from TV. And
so I settled for this.
I went into radio. I went back into radio. So when talking to, full story here, when I was talking to Chris Woolsey, in the background, he and I were actually talking about Songstage. And I'm like, dude, does Crackle want to buy this thing? And he was like, I think they might. And so I never told you this either.
I feel like maybe
after the fact, because this was probably a year and a half ago. And so Crackle had put us on the docket for doing us, because my terms were, you can have the first 2 seasons, but you got to give us a third. And they're like, I think we're going to do a 3rd season of Songstage. Well, that's when you actually crack through. And that's like, oh, we made it, And in the process of talking to Chris and it got greenlit up the line. And we're like, this is great. Crackle used to be owned by Sony. I mean, this is a pretty big deal. Redbox and all these, they're all owned by the same company at this point. So we get to the point where we talk to their last person. And I had a meeting with this person just by Zoom. And she was a greenlit too. She was thumbs up.
Yeah.
And that was in February of 24, so last year, about almost a year ago. And we're like, wow, this is cool. But they had to attach some sponsors, and it's the whole game. And then I find out, that was February. I find out in March the company was going bankrupt.
Oh.
And I was like, oh no, we were right on the doorstep. So that's why you actually, that's not why, because of Songstage, but that's when you go to a store now and you'll still see the red boxes there because the company didn't just declare Chapter 11, they declared Chapter 7, which is like immediate cease of operations. There's nothing going.
Restructuring.
Yeah, it's not a restructuring of debt. It is like, we're done. We have nothing. And the company is gone. Like so much so.
You don't have assets to...
Nothing. And so if you log on to, like, we used to rent movies on Friday nights with the Blockbuster thing. You'd get on Redbox online and you could buy the new movies to rent. You can't even do that anymore. So you got to use different platforms. Crackle's gone. I think Chicken Soup might still be there. But if you go into a store and you see the red box, it's still there in a lot of stores because they just stopped. Like they didn't even come collect the things. They're still there. My Walmart, I think, just finally got rid of theirs. But I don't even know what they're doing with them. They're probably still full of DVDs.
Let's get one.
Yeah, let's go get one.
Let's go find one.
Well, anyway, we'll take a short break and come back with Ethan. Interesting story here. I've been saving this for I knew today would be hosting. So Nicole Shanahan put out a really interesting, I'll say testimony, because it's about her faith in Christ, which is brand new, apparently. And she tells the whole story. Now, Nicole Shanahan, if you don't know, was the vice presidential nominee for Robert Kennedy Jr. And now she's become kind of a national figure because of that. And she has a lot to say about she has a lot to say about God. So we'll just talk about that in a minute here on the Annie Frey Show.
This is the Annie Frey Show. The Annie Frey Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
Fox here. Join me, Annie Frey, and Mark Reardon, along with Bob and Tammy Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, March 25th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Tammy with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and worried about market volatility and losses at this stage in your life? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you are 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you are 59 and a half or older, you can't afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg. Join the official financial advisors of my show, Bob and Tammy Kershaw, Tuesday, March 25th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Hey, Jimmy Fallon here with a quick listening tip for you. If you miss Fox Across America or any of your other Fox News favorites, do not worry. I got you covered. You can stream previously aired shows with Rewind, available exclusively on the free Odyssey app. So if you're busy work days, it doesn't mean you have to miss out on the news. Listen to your Fox shows on your time with Odyssey. To get started, just download the free Odyssey app and search for Fox News Radio. That's Odyssey, Audacy. I'm spelling it out in case you're a little slow like me.
Does the state of this economy have your head spinning? Let GregHammonds.com relieve one burden, health insurance. Greg Hammonds at GregHammonds.com specializes in under 65 health insurance plans that have zero copays and no deductibles. You choose your doctors and hospitals. These plans have nothing to do with your income and are 30 to 60% less than Obamacare. These are also available all year round to those that qualify. If you have a small business or you're paying for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employment coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to GregHammonds.com. That's GregHammonds.com. They can customize a plan chosen and managed by you, not the government. Call 314-794-7784 or go to GregHammonds.com.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate. Paid for by Bayer.
You're listening to the Annie Frey Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Time to schedule your air conditioner service. Get your entire HVAC system checked for $19 a month with the preferred partner plan and be ready for the first heat wave. Visit aircomfortservice.com.
If you use a smart speaker, you can listen to 97.1 easier than ever. Just tell it to play 97.1 FM Talk. Or download the Odyssey app for your phone and stream the station whenever, wherever. This is the Annie Frey Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Ethan has come into the studio, producer Ethan. Ethan is 19 years old. How old are you?
18.
18 years old. So you're buying cigarettes now.
And lottery tickets.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I've lost so much money.
Getting them lung darts and lottery tickets.
And ability to breathe clearly and exercise, all kinds of things.
You've lost a lot.
Yeah.
That's where it all goes downhill, Ethan.
You're 24?
Yeah.
Have you ever rented a movie from anywhere that's like a physical copy of a movie?
Oh, yeah.
Have you?
Yeah, you mean like Redbox?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anywhere, but yes.
Oh, we did Redbox a bunch growing up when that was like a weekend thing, like Friday, like you go to the store. All right, let's go. We get Redbox. So what movie are we going to watch? What new movie are we going to watch tonight?
It's Universal, man.
Let's see. What was that? Going into my senior year. I think the last time I went, I'm trying to recall the last time I went to Redbox. I was taking a girl on a date, and we went out to eat, and then after, we went back to one of our places, and we watched A Quiet Place, and we rented it from Redbox.
That's a weird movie to watch. Was it a first date?
I had kind of a long history.
Wait, hold on. Is your wife listening?
Probably not.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
We had dated before, and then we had taken a long pause. So this was like our first date kind of back, I guess. So kind of first date, but not really.
Is A Quiet Place a good first-ish date movie?
Probably not. I was 18. I was stupid.
Because it seems like you'd be tense and not wanting to talk or breathe. You know?
Yes. And
what were your intentions with this young lady?
I wanted her to feel safe in my arms.
Okay.
I had no intentions. I said, this movie looks awesome. We should watch it. She said, okay.
It's good. It's a good movie.
The first, and then they kind of just went downhill.
Yeah,
from
I
there.
saw the second one, and it was like, it was okay. I didn't have any problems with it. It was just not as good as
prequel
the first
sucked.
one. I actually liked the prequel.
Really?
I liked the prequel just because, okay. Now we're really on a tangent. We were going to talk about Nicole Shannon.
Baptisms.
We will. We will.
We will.
But and so I love, and I mentioned this on the show, I think just yesterday randomly, that I love Last Person on Earth movies.
Mm-hmm.
And that could there's a lot of different ways that could qualify. One would be the last actual person on Earth or an Earth-like place. Second would be you're the last person, or you think they're the last person in the universe, even if they're not on a planet, like they're just floating in space and Earth got destroyed or something like that. The third one would be you're in an environment where there should be people, but there are no people.
Mm-hmm.
Like you go into a city and it's empty.
Yeah, kind of like The Walking Dead.
Yeah, that qualifies on my list. Because I love those kinds of scenes.
Post-apocalyptic, not a lot of people left.
Now, there are a lot of post-apocalyptic movies that don't hit my list.
Right.
But those are the qualifications.
But, I mean, it's like the last throes of humanity.
Yes.
Just a smattering.
And, in fact, everybody in the movie has to at least be a character. So you can't have a group of 100 people and you know 5 of them, and they're part of this larger community because they all have to be characters.
Mm.
I would argue that that A Quiet Place, for me at least, I might be forgetting some, but that's probably my favorite, I guess, post-apocalyptic kind of last person on Earth
It's a great
survival movie.
And it does qualify because I think there are enough scenes where they go into cities and towns and there's nobody.
Mm-hmm.
It's eerie. I love that stuff.
It's also just really hard to just pull off a movie with very little to no talking.
Yes, it is. It's incredibly difficult to write that movie.
Oh, I bet.
Because you just write.
Because what are you writing?
Character walks into town. You're just writing description over and over and over. And so it's all a script like that depends entirely on the production and the director because the script is very little.
But
and
anyway,
you don't know how long it's going to be because the dialogue usually, you know that a page equals a minute typically.
You started off this by trashing my movie selection, and now
there.
you're talking about how much you love the movie.
No, I like the movie, but it's a weird date movie. But the reason I like the prequel is because for most post-apocalyptic, especially Last Man on Earth movies or TV shows, they don't show the actual event if it's big. What they show is the aftermath, or they show flashbacks to what things were like before.
Okay,
but
that's fair.
They don't show the big event because it's expensive.
Fair.
It's really expensive. And in fact, in Walking Dead and in the 28 Days Later, they did the same thing where the main character goes into a coma, the entire apocalypse happens, and then he wakes up. So you just missed it all. It's a cool plot point, but you also never see the fullness of the destruction.
To add even more, I think A Quiet Place did it twice. They did that scene. They did that really twice when you think about it. Like, took you through like what.
See, I didn't think in the first one or the second one they really showed. They might have showed little bits of it, but in the prequel, that's the whole movie.
Yeah, the whole movie. Yes, there's in the second one it is a scene where it's almost a flashback. I think is what it is. It's the only scene where John Krasinski's alive.
Yeah, but that's rural.
Right.
That's
I'm
way
saying
out
it's
in the middle of
I'm
nowhere.
saying it's kind of cool that they showed it from
Yeah.
multiple perspectives.
Yeah, but to do a city scene,
Yes, yeah, I'm
where
with you.
have mass destruction. That's why the Avengers movies are so stinking expensive, because you got CGI going everywhere, and to do that, it just makes your movie expensive. So I
Right.
liked the fact that they did that in that one. And in fact, the Walking Dead sequel, the Fear the Walking Dead. Have you ever watched that one?
I never watched Fear the Walking Dead. I watched 8 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Fear
I
the
never
Walking
watched
Dead
a little bit of it.
is decent, but they do the same. I was oh good, they're going to show the origins of this thing, since
they
they didn't. So instead, they put the whole family in a little walled off town, and then the whole apocalypse happens outside the town, and then they have to leave the town. So they skipped it again because it's expensive. Anyway,
Interesting.
let's talk about baptisms.
Speak.
Hell of a
Thank you.
transition. So,
Thank you.
Radio
let's
stuff
talk
here. We're
about-
doing radio
So in a
stuff.
sense, the first film was a baptism. And that gets me to my point. It was a baptism by fire. This is a baptism by water, Ethan.
And spirit.
And spirit, that's right. This is Nicole Shanahan. So I mentioned this in the last segment, that she was the vice presidential nominee for RFK Jr. And she's had an interesting political journey, wouldn't you say?
Oh, for sure.
Have you kind of watched her?
My first introduction to her was whenever RFK announced her.
Yeah, me too.
And so to see her, they were Democrats and she was fairly liberal. I remember when they announced her, it's like, oh man, she's pretty liberal. I don't know if that's going to do what we
I remember
think.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Thinking, I kind of was hoping for a little bit more independent
Yeah.
person, but she's kind of a lefty.
Yeah, but she was also somebody that I've noticed has an incredibly open mind and is always learning and evolving and changing.
So she's very wealthy, and the reason that I think she got wealthy because she's an entrepreneur and she worked in Silicon Valley and she was an attorney, and so she was already naturally kind of wealthy. But then she married the co-founder of Google. That'll raise your wealth by quite a bit,
Slightly
when you do that. And I think when she talks about in this story that she just put out on X last week, when she talks about her ex, she put it out on X. She's talking about her ex. I think that's who she's talking about, is her ex-husband that was the co-founder of Google. But I'll just read a little bit of it. It says here, it was a quiet January night, so this is just recently, just in January, a few days before the presidential inauguration. I was lying in bed in the middle of the night with my 6-year-old Echo, gently calming her after a night terror had awakened her.
Her name's Echo?
Her daughter, 6-year-old's named Echo.
Okay.
Yeah. I think she's kind of, I don't want to say new agey, but she's real, like, kind of into energies and stuff like that. Or
Okay.
at least she was. And so, there's a lot of verbiage that goes along with that too.
Sure.
She says, as her 6-year-old finally drifted back to sleep, I felt a heaviness settle over me, thick and suffocating, like the air before a storm. It pressed against my chest, not like a weight, but like a presence, something unseen yet undeniable, and dark is the way she's describing it. At that moment, I could only think to bow my head, close my eyes, and offer a silent prayer to God. So she is not a Christian, but she said this moment, she said, I prayed. And I don't get the sense that she was a big prayer before this, and that's why she's telling this story. She says, rewind a little bit. She goes back in September of 2024, which is during the campaign. This is September of last year. This is when all this is happening. Our family suffered a heart-wrenching loss, one I'm not prepared to speak about in detail yet. So I don't know what that was, but this was just recently in September. She had a loss, and long after the tragedy, she met a woman named Diane, who she doesn't know the lingo. It's cool to read from her because she doesn't know the lingo. She says, I called her a bishop, but she might have been a pastor or a preacher or a minister. I don't know. I call her a bishop.
Yes.
You're right. And she was introduced by this person through her masseuse. This is rich people. Her masseuse's name was Ade, a Mayan Mexican immigrant who was a kind, quiet Christian who would whisper prayers over her as he massaged her. And she kind of knew that was what he was doing, but didn't know for sure. So when this tragedy happens, she says she goes to Ade and says, hey, I know you're kind of into spiritual things. I felt this really dark energy, and I don't like it. It was terrible. And how do I get rid of that? I don't want this energy, is the way she described it. And the guy says, she actually says to him, basically, I need something like an exorcism. And she says, Ade looked at me, paused, and simply says, yeah, when you're ready. And she goes, okay. Well, I think I'm ready. So he introduced her to this woman named Diane, who she describes as a bishop or a pastor or whatever. She says, I was struck by her presence. Like me, she was a woman of mixed race from Oakland with piercing blue eyes and curly black hair. She's a grandmother in her 70s with a quiet strength about her. She sits with her, and Diane walks through the scriptures explaining the gospel. Just very basic. This is what it is. Jesus came into the world. He's the Son of God. He died on the cross to absolve you of your sins. If you believe in him, you get salvation. You are accepted into the family of God just through faith. So she explains that to Nicole Shanahan. Nicole Shanahan says, I always believed in God, but I never fully grasped the reality of the devil. Growing up with a father who seemed overcome by his demons, I try to avoid bad energy. He was addicted to alcohol and would fall into manic lapses, yelling profanities at the wall. He would scream, laugh, cry, and wail, sometimes in a single evening.
Sheesh.
Alone downstairs in our home in Oakland. I was taught that my father was a sick person, but I never seriously considered whether demons were real until recently. That experience that she outlines at the beginning there. She says, honestly, my last year in politics changed that. Learning just how far some will go to inflict atrocities on innocent Americans has shocked me awake. Other unexplainable events have also forced me to reconsider whether we are waging a war not merely with flesh and blood, but with spiritual forces. Many people shy away from acknowledging the reality of spiritual warfare. But anyone who has seen addiction up close or lived through deep trauma and witnessed how evil takes hold in this world knows that the battle of good versus evil isn't just theoretical, it's real and all around us. She says at the end of this, I've long practiced, like I said, the kind of new agey thing. She says, I've long practiced meditative prayer influenced by years of practicing yoga, studying Eastern religions, and engaging in personal development. But now my prayers are actually directed toward Jesus. She says, I understand now that he is the bridge between us and heaven, our intercessor before the divine creator. And that's where the testimony ends. She goes on to explain that she had, I guess she's Jewish in background in some way or another, because her and her husband, her new husband now, both say that they are Jews for Jesus. So I don't know exactly what her background is, but I found that to be a very, very interesting story, especially about somebody who we kind of, everything that she's describing, we actually watched her journey. This was very recent, you know. This story just happened as recently as January, where she got baptized and says that she believes in Jesus. But my overarching question, just as we close the segment here, is, do you think at this point in American history, are people more open to the idea that there's something more to life than themselves now? Or is it the same as it always is, and Jesus is speaking to somebody just the same as he always does? Are we in a unique period of time right now?
I don't know that it's unique as in the fact that it's never happened before, but I do think that there is a revival or an awakening of sorts happening, and I think it's because people have experienced a lot of what, I don't want to say atheism, but secular humanism has had to offer over the past 15 to 20 to 30 years even, that a lot of it, you get to the end of it and you're like, there's nothing there. It's hollow. There's no substance or purpose to it. And we went through a lot of stuff. And then the other side of it is they're looking at what is becoming of society, and they're saying, well, you know, they told us that this Christianity was repressing us and not allowing us to be our true selves. And then when we get to be our true selves, this is what we're left with: rampant crime, you know, sexual perversion, people basically fighting to put pornography for children into schools, all of this other stuff that's going around there. And you know what? I don't want that. Let's go back to Christianity. Let's go back to a Christian society. Let me see what that's all about.
I agree with a lot with what Brad just said. I think that I don't know if it's necessarily new. I would say it's more so returning, because I do think that there is a time in America where that was very much so just
default
how you lived.
Yeah.
Right? And perhaps because of that, there was a lack of sincerity at times because it was the default. So I think that to a certain extent is returning, but I think that the difference, I would say, is that there's more potential for sincerity in it because it's a return and it is coming from a place of this is where we were, and kind of like Brad said, seeing the emptiness in that. That's more so where I would argue from it. I would also say, though, in today's day and age, it is, and this is why I think it's really cool that Nicole Shanahan acknowledges it, is I think that a lot of people that are growing to understand and step into Christianity miss the evil part of things. They miss that part, and they only get the good, or they only want the good, and they don't really get the whole picture of who Jesus is, what he saved us from, but also like what it takes to like be a follower of him, and what you're going to get, what is destined for you if you don't pursue him, is an eternity of evil. So that's, I think, the part where it could be really easy to leave that side out of things. But overall, yeah, I would say it's more so a return than it's always been here or never been here. But yeah.
Interesting. If you want to read, I read probably half of this testimony, summarized some of it because it's pretty long. If you want to read Nicole Shanahan's full testimony, go on X, and she posted it for anybody to see. I printed the whole thing out. It's pretty fascinating the way that the timeline kind of matches up with us even knowing she existed. She kind of came on the scene over the summer when she was announced as the VP candidate, and then all of this story happened since then. She gets a little bit more into the political side of things too as you read on. So yeah, it's a good read. 2:45. We have one segment left before we get to the Mark Reardon Show and the Fish Fry. They are on location for the Reardon Roundtable, so stick around for that. But we'll give you the results of this YouTube live chat poll in the next segment. Are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? Stick around.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
It's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney, and the truth is I really don't even like attorneys. If I sound like an attorney or if I look like an attorney, I'll apologize. But what I've learned in my 15 years in the timeshare cancellation business is you don't need to be an attorney to get folks out of their timeshare. At Wesley, we've helped over 40,000 families cancel their timeshare without me being an attorney. And I want to share with you how we do it. Just give my office a call, and you will not talk to an attorney. And I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare, or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare exit info kit. 800-656-1551. That's 800-656-1551. 800-656-1551.
We've been here 30 years. 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
I can see clearly now thanks to the doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, Andy Royer, and introducing Samuel Berry. You can too. Call 314-966-5000 or check out youridoc.com. That's youridoc.com. Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com. That's GeneratorSupercenterofStLouis.com.
Today's YouTube live chat poll, are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? We had a big discussion about this in the first segment of today's show, so you can rewind if you're listening on the Odyssey app and go back and listen to that. It's actually the first two segments, so you go back and listen to that. And actually, just go ahead and listen to the rest of the show because it's a really good show. Just do the whole thing. Just listen to the whole thing. But if you want to vote in the poll, what we need you to do is go over to Annie's YouTube page, youtube.com/@AnnieFry. And there is where you'll find the poll, and you can vote in it. And then we want you to leave us a comment on the chat saying why you voted the way you voted. So are you pro-tariff or are you free market? It's one of those two options. You have to make a choice. All right, today's time is 2:50. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
This is the Annie Frey Show. Follow Annie on X @Annie Frey Show.
It's funny how in the course of the political discourse, a random representative from the House who's been there for a long time will just become a story. Like Al Green. I've seen Al Green before because he likes to make displays and get attention.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I'd ever go, oh, I know that guy's name
like
now.
77 years old.
Yeah, he made himself the center of discussion. Well, there's another person in the House. Now, I don't know how long she's been in the House, but she has definitely gotten a lot of attention recently. I think just because she's probably in her 70s and she has purple hair. And so, I mean, she's just, tries to get a little bit of attention, I think. I don't know what else reason you'd do that. But she has got a viral video.
You want me to pull the video up?
If you want to do the video, yeah, I've got the sound. But, yeah, if you want to pull the video, that'd be great. Because that's a part of it. This is a woman who now, if you pay attention to politics, you're going to see her. Oh, yeah, I've seen her a few times now. Well, her name is Rosa DeLauro.
Yeah.
DeLauro. And she, again, being at least in her 70s, has decided to do a video that's fun and young that speaks to Gen Z. And I guess the person writing it thought it would be a funny idea to have somebody so much older than that generation to speak the lingo of that generation. And this is a joke that you've seen. Let me know when you got it. Oh, there you go. This is a joke that we've seen a lot of times, like an old person saying young things, but this is just now put into the political context.
Yo, this is the Ranking Rizzler on appropriations, serving Connecticut's 3rd District. It's time to enter your dark academia Congress era. All right, besties, House appropriation is the money moves in Congress. We are not chasing the bag, we are the bag. Democrats are making life smoother through government funding. It's giving, it's giving. So Sigma, main character energy. But Republicans' Project 2025 is mad sus. Eliminating the Department of Education? Negative aura points. Basically, the biggest phantom tax on the environment, on your education, and your rights. Big L posting it online, buddy. Democrats understood the assignment, but go off. See how I keep you informed? Very cutesy, very demure.
Okay. Yesterday, it was the Choose Your Fighter video. Today, it's this thing. There is no shortage of these videos coming out from the Democrats right now, and I'm not really sure why.
Man.
They seem to be fully backfiring.
Man, I don't know what they're thinking. Okay, so I work in youth ministry, and here's the thing that I've learned. You can use this language, but you cannot use it unironically. She is trying to reach a group of kids that will look at this and go, who is this weird old lady with purple hair? You're not cool enough to do that. You're not part of that group. You're not the Rizzler. You're not, you don't even know what skibbity means. I don't even know what skibbity means.
I
just know that the kids use it. I understand the aura points, all of that other stuff. I don't use that unironically. I do it to get a laugh out of the kids because I'm, quote unquote, the old guy, and I'm only 42. She's like 97. I don't know how old she is, but she's got.
If your point was to make a video that went viral, which is probably what this was.
This is the meme of Steve Buscemi with the backwards hat and the skateboard over shoulder. How do you do, fellow teenagers? This isn't going to do it. Stop it.
Well,
or you know what? Keep going.
I mean, using the lingo would get you the attention, but the points she's making in there also, I mean, she straight up says Democrats are trying to make your lives better through government funding. That's not identifiable.
No.
That's not something that people go, oh, yeah.
That's super skibbity.
I love government funding. Like, no, nobody's doing that. And then she says skibbity, like you're going, oh, and she's funny.
Oh, she said skibbity.
I really took a step back after I saw this morning and said, is this one of those that, if you're on the winning sports team and you do something goofy and like, but he's the best kicker in the league, like it doesn't matter because he makes every kick from no matter how far away. You can do goofy stuff, but if you're losing constantly, you can't be goofy. Like Manny Ramirez, he was a character, but he was really good, so he got away with it. If you're a character and you're bad, you're just annoying. Is this that? Like, if Democrats were in control and she made this video, would this be like, they're really taking victory laps?
No, I don't think it would be, because I think this is a desperate attempt. You brought this poll to the Mark Cox show, and you were talking about how young people have overall sided with Trump. And I think they're trying to win it back. But what they're ending up with here is like what an old person thinks a young person wants.
Yeah, it's a miss. I can't really find how this would be interpreted as a hit. The YouTube live chat poll, are you pro-tariff or pro-free market? We made you choose between the two, even though I know you didn't want to. Which one is leading? Which one won?
So with 187 votes in, pro-tariff has 71% of the votes.
No kidding.
Bring
Wow.
on the tariffs is what our show says.
I guess so. I thought it would be a little bit closer than that, but I guess we're going to go with Trump. If we had to answer that question, anything real quick, Brad?
I would say pro-tariff because I'm not completely free market.
I would say pro-tariff because I want to see what he's got in store. Will it work? That's the big question. That's why there's a debate going on even within the Republican Party over this. Thanks for tuning in. Mark Reardon is next at the Fish Fry.
This is the story of the one. As a quality technician in a food processing center, she knows that making the right call is the best way to avoid a recall. That's why she trusts Grainger's world-class supply chain to deliver the high-quality supplies she needs to help keep her production line, her equipment, and her customers happy and healthy. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no cravings. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Early bird special, only $49.99. Hypnosis designed to destroy unwanted cravings. That's right. Seminars Sunday, March 16th, Aviator Hotel and Suites, South I-55 in St. Louis. Weight loss seminar, 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar, 2 p.m. Or Monday, March 17th. 4 Points by Sheraton, St. Louis, Fairview Heights, Fairview Heights. Weight loss seminar, 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar, 8 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Attention St. Louis Medicaid residents in need of care at home. If you need assistance with daily activities, you can receive in-home care from a loved one that lives with you and they get paid. Through Medicaid with no cost to you, Freedom Care allows you to choose who provides your care at home in St. Louis and they get paid instantly. This is 100% free to you. Call now to check your eligibility. It can be your daughter, son, a close relative, or trusted friend helping you with cooking, transportation, laundry, and other activities in your own home. You get the help you need and your caregiver gets paid instantly. Freedom Care has over 7,000 5-star Google reviews and is a leading choice in St. Louis for in-home care. If you have Medicaid and want great care from a loved one that's free to you through Medicaid, go to freedomcare.com or call 314-597-1749, 314-597-1749, 314-597-1749.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
The president getting frustrated with Kyiv on Jack Callahan.
How about now? See, all I had to do was turn the mic up. Set this to automatically adjust volume, and we should be good now. Okay, so the word that I said before was green onions. If you can hear me say green onions in the chat, and that way we can get started with any questions that you guys might have or anything like that. For those of you who are wondering, Annie is out of town. She's at Jensen's basketball tournament out in I don't know, up north somewhere, Chicago-ish. Couldn't tell you exactly. The pups are in good hands. I've got both Rosie and I also have Winnie, and Winnie is a handful. That dog, when you walk out of the room, she walks, it's like you've left for 10 years and just made it back. It's wild. So, yep, green onions, there we go. So you guys can hear me. All right, did you guys have any questions for me? Right now I'm in the room. I don't know if you've ever seen Annie do a hit on Fox News, on Big Fox, but she likes to come into this room here and do that hit. She usually sets the laptop up higher, which I've got this little case here that is my it's my webcam case where I bring all the extra webcams. And she sets it up, and then she gets her hair all done, and I think she stands when she does the hit. She doesn't sit. And then behind me, we grab one of the sign that's usually behind me in the big studio. She grabs that sign and hangs it on the wall behind her, and then we make sure we move the lights around and we get good lighting on her. So she does that. Ron says dogs have no sense of time. I'm believing that. Although at the same time, my dog doesn't care if I come back. So I don't know what's really up with that. So, what do you guys think? Is there any pressing question that you'd like to know? The studio that I'm in right now, I said Annie does her hits from there. This is also where we record, like, two-way radio gets recorded in this studio. We also do the live reads. I don't know if when you were listening to the show today, they're called Recorded to Sound is Live. Annie comes into this studio, records it, and then whenever she's out of town or if she's sick or whatever, if she's on vacation, we run those, and they sound like they're live, so it's supposed to give the impression that Annie's still reading the lives. It's how we handle the business side of things whenever talent goes on air. So, nice spot with the racks, yeah. If you look at the rack up here and you can see those moving, that's just picking me up. There's a mic here, and there's one back here, and those mics are just picking it up around me. It's really quiet in here. The only thing that I can actually hear is one of the fans on the computers that are down low in this rack, but that's what it is. So one of the things that Annie and I have talked about in the past is doing some sort of post-show producer, like this is what it's like being a producer. I'll give you guys a little inside information on that. One of the first things that we have to do after the show is, and I can't do this while the stream's still running, but I grab the audio and the video off of the stream and I start cutting it and then putting it into programs to create those shorts that you guys see, know, and love. So I do that after the show. Ryan Wiggins helps me with the podcasting. Ethan helps a little bit with that. Like today, since Ryan was in studio the whole time, Ethan, when he could, pulled portions of the podcast for Ryan. Trisha helped with that a little bit today. When Annie's out of town, usually they give us another producer that's out in the studio, but today they just didn't have somebody that they could do that. There's not a lot of part-timers that can always do it, and I believe Carl was out this morning, so I don't know if you guys remember Drew or not. Drew Young was helping with the morning show with Mark, so he's one of the main producers that they pull over from KMOX to help us out whenever one of us is gone. So Dale says, being in the biz, I can't believe what you do and still keep up with the chat like you do. I can't keep up with it as much because of that. I used to be in the chat all the time whenever I was watching the show, whenever I was a viewer. But when I'm in the studio, off to my right and down to down to my right is the computer that is the board PC. That's where I do all the chat to you guys. That's also where a lot of the audio, well, Annie plays audio, but it's also where, like, when we play clips from Fox News or something like that, I've got all that. So it's hard to keep up with the chat, and so there are definitely times where I might miss something. But the other side of that is, too, Annie's watching the chat. Ryan's got the stream pulled up. He's watching the chat. So there's a lot of set of eyes on it, and even Ethan out in the producer area is listening to the chat. And really, the only reason I'm in the studio here is so that somebody doesn't walk by and say something that they don't want said on stream or something like that. And I just don't want to be warning everybody, hey, hot mic, hot camera here. You know, I want to respect people's privacy. Yes, Ron, I make them from the show. The ones that hit good, great. The ones that don't, the older ones, though, the real old ones, if you go and look, and there's some older ones of Ryan being goofy and stuff like that, those were actually created by Anna, AB, from the Brett Mega Morning Show. She started here as a digital person, and whenever she got on the Brett Mega Show, we needed to figure out something else for making shorts. And so that kind of fell on me as something that I had to learn how to do. Jack wants to know, how long are you usually at the studio on a work day? Jack, it's more like 8 to 5:30. But that's part of that is like on a normal overtime when I'm not on camera, I'll be eating lunch. So I just stop and eat lunch. So that runs my time a little bit longer. But how long I'm here really depends on how well the technology is functioning that I'm using to make the shorts and the reels and the videos and stuff like that we post on YouTube to keep that going. It's actually AI programs that we use to do that, and then I go in there and I tweak it because AI is not perfect. It's still got a long way to go, but man, it's come a long way even just in the short time that we started using it to do that. But sometimes it's not happy, it's grumpy, and there's a lot of post editing that I have to do in those videos after they do it. So I am here. Sometimes I'm late, and then like other days I can leave early. It's like I'm just not going to make anything. Or because of the beauty of working online, the program that we use for streaming, the programs that we use for video editing, that's all browser based. So I can just go home on my personal computer, log in, and do the work from home. I tend not to do that because I'm one of those people that if I am at home, home is where home stuff happens, and work is where work stuff happens, and it'll be really easy to get distracted. But sometimes I just don't want to deal with the traffic. Traffic is really bad on the ride home, especially around 5 o'clock with all the road construction that's going on. Let's see here. I want to scroll back and see if yeah. So Kyle says, I appreciate the amount of work that a smallish team can do. Yeah, really for our show, it's me, Annie, Ryan, and then Ethan splits his time. And even Ryan has to split his time for imaging on the station. So whenever you think the two people that are solely focused on the Annie Frey show, that's me and Annie. And then Ryan comes in, he's probably 75 to 80% focused, but that other 20% is imaging. So if you guys are like, oh, what's imaging? That's where, like you hear the stingers. The stingers are what I play over the music coming in. He does the promotion. So like anytime you hear the promos that play over the air, Ryan takes care of that. Big intro things like on debate night, he did a big intro thing. On election night, he did a big introduction to our coverage of it. He does all of that. So anything that's like 97.1 and all that, Ryan creates that. That's called imaging. So he does most of that, and then Ethan really has to split his time between coming in and helping us out, and then he also manages like the overlays that you guys see on the stream. From out in the producer area, but he really is doing a lot of work prepping Mark Reardon's show when he goes on. So Ethan cuts the audio and the bump music and all that stuff for their show. He does that pre-show for ours. It's more of a process for Reardon's show because he's got a more particular way of doing it. It's his style, it's his flow, so Ethan has to cut from this point to this point in a song, and Mark actually has it planned out where he knows what he's going to say and how he's going to come in on each song that he does for bump music. So he does that. Ethan also cuts audio. So like the audio that you hear played on our show that Annie plays, or the videos, that's mainly me that's sourcing, cutting, and putting that into folders for Annie to use. Ethan helps out whenever I get a little bit behind. And then Ethan does put up the bump music for our show too. So there's a lot that goes into making this, and it's a lot of work for very few number of guys. And because Ethan has to split his time, that's why he's not in the studio as much as we would like him to be, because we think he's great on air. I don't know what you guys think, but we love him on air. He's also pretty freaking cool to hang out with. Same with Wiggins. Wiggins pretty freaking cool to hang out with, and I would say the same thing about Annie too. So that's really important. We got a really good team, and I like hanging out with them. Let me see if I can find another question here. Trying to look into the camera and talk, and then also monitor the chat, because like if you watch my eyes, I'm looking at the chat now, and now I'm looking back at the camera, and I'm trying to make sure that I make good eye contact. Dale, do you have an engineer on site or only when needed? Until recently, it was only when needed, but we do have an engineer on site. He's great. He's doing a really good job. Up to that point, there's like 2 engineers that work with us. One of them is over our station in Kansas City, and he splits his time, so there'd be 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there. When he's not here, fortunately now we have another engineer on site that can do what he's doing. He's great. Kyle is awesome. What else? Whose version of the theme song? Oh, Ryan didn't actually make the theme song. That was Rachel Zimmerman of the Dave Glover Show, back whenever she was producing for Annie at the very beginning of her show. Rachel Zimmerman made that one. So that intro. Or are you talking about Ryan's version of the theme song, where he made that for the Glover Show and he presented it as the new... Oh gosh, that's a whole thing. That's a whole thing. So Dale, I kind of answered this one already. I'm here from around 8, maybe a little sooner, to around 5:30 at the latest. Some days I'm here later. Being salary, you leave when the job is done, and some days there's more workload to get done because they're like, okay, so you also have to do IP reports or something like that. So other than the additional day's task, there's more stuff that has to get done. George says the Annie Frey Show is interactive, which is great, and I really enjoy the content without it being preachy. We didn't get too preachy today, did we? Ryan and I sometimes are not, but thank you, George, for the comment. That is one of the things that whenever I was a listener, I really liked about it, because we interact with the chat. We're always looking for ways to improve the show, so make sure you guys let Annie know what you do, what you don't like. Actually, in the description of this video, there's a link to fill out a questionnaire about the show. Answer honestly. We're always looking to be the best possible show that we can be. Actually, you guys are all getting this. So I'm doing a little bit of overtime on the 97.1 YouTube page. Guys, over on 97.1, I got bad news for you. I got to end that because I said that I would. But that's okay. Save changes. What is the... let's see if there's any more. Guys, get your questions in because I want to answer them as many as I can. Tom, yeah, we know it's a hot mic. Let's see here, down here. FR asks, is there knowledge transfer between the shows, and on what levels and types of directions do you get from off-air management? Well, we have bi-weekly meetings with our program director. Sometimes he'll text us during the show, but really what he wants to do is talk about what our thoughts are on the show. What are your goals? What are you trying to do? And then he tries to assist us in achieving those goals. So we don't really get instruction on what to say or how to say it. I guess when you're talking about knowledge transfer, I'm not really sure what that is. We're all pretty much the same topical, save for like the really down low nitty-gritty Missouri politics, we leave that to the other shows because we think they do a really good job. So Mark and Mark do an excellent job covering local Missouri politics. If you're here watching me, you're missing out on Jane Duker and some of the others on the roundtables, and they usually talk about that stuff. There is no, you have to talk about this, no, you have to talk about that. But in the same vein, they're like, hey, Donald Trump's got a press conference coming up at this time. That's one of the things that I try to do is, like, during Kilmeade, I've always got an ear on what's going on our side. Do we need to break into Kilmeade to cover something major that's going or something like that? And sometimes that ends up being like a mad dash to the studio to get talent to break in, and then we pot up Fox News coverage of whatever's going on. And when I say Fox News, we got a radio satellite feed from Fox News Radio that covers all that we can pot up and run into that. Let's see here. Taking calls has improved the show, Scooter says. Scooter, I'm still disappointed that you never call in. I mean, you've got a lot to say, and we do appreciate you in the chat. And maybe, like, what you say on chat only gets seen by those few people that are in chat. And I think that if you called in, we might have a really good discussion. And when I say we, I think you and Annie would have a really good discussion. You might have something to say. So I would encourage you to call in. We're never mean to our callers, although sometimes our callers are mean to us. I don't know if you guys have heard that one guy, but man, we had to put his number on block. But yeah, Scooter, give us a call next time we do it. I mean, it's one of the things that you really like, and I would encourage you to do that. And I would encourage anybody, really, if you're listening, if I post that phone number in the chat, we want you to call in. We want to hear your voice. We want you to be part of it. And if you don't feel comfortable doing the call on the app, we do monitor the app. So if you've got something to say on the Odyssey app, you can press a little microphone button and record a voice message. Ethan will get that voice message, and what we'll do then is we'll chop it up and we'll play it on the air if it's something that we think is airworthy. So yeah. We love interaction. We love the chat. We love everything that's going on. But whenever we take calls, please call in. We would love to hear from you. Is there anything else here? Dale's talking about body changes after retirement. And Dale, Scooter, Dale wishes you would call in too. When you say cut in, what do you mean, Dale? I need a little more clarification on that. When you're talking about cutting into, like, Trump speaking, that's generally Annie. She's got a feel for it, a flow for it. If Trump is speaking and he goes long, or if we're taking a press conference and it goes long, or it switches over to something that we don't really think would be compelling, we are always monitoring it, and so we might cut back in. If you watch Big Fox, they do this too whenever they take press conferences and stuff like that. So it's kind of like a collaboration. It's not really one or the other. But Annie is the one that ultimately decides exactly where she'll cut in. And you got to look, it's an art form. You got to look for a good place to cut in. Press conference, yeah. Oh, so you're saying, like, if Donald Trump is having a press conference, do we cut into Kilmeade and do that? That's usually between me and Trisha, because Annie is still on her way here. Annie does a lot of prep at home and then comes into the studio and goes straight into the studio. So that's usually me and Trisha that decide that. But if we know that there's going to be something, Annie will plan her schedule so she'll be here earlier so that she can cut in. But that's usually something that is well known as opposed to something that is, like, kind of off the cuff. And that's the thing. That's one of the big things I've noticed differently about Donald Trump and doing production, because I had only ever done production with Joe Biden as president. Joe Biden didn't talk at all. Like, I knew he didn't talk at all, but now that Trump is president and how much Trump is always giving press conferences, it seems like almost every day there's a little presser in the Oval Office where he talks to reporters, and then, you know, they bring that to you and all sorts of things. So we got to pick and choose what we cover with Trump, because what we don't want it to be is just basically Donald Trump talking on the radio station all the time, because we know that you guys like to hear from other people, what other people think about what Donald Trump says and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot of thought, interaction that goes into that. So that's a collaboration. between myself and Trisha, I'll be like, hey, Trump's speaking. What's he going to talk on? It's going to be about this. Do we want to do that? And sometimes Annie weighs in. Sometimes Ryan weighs in. Sometimes Steve weighs in. That's one of the really cool things about working here. It's collaborative. We work together. We listen to one another. We talk about things, and then we make decisions together as a group. And whenever you do that, you get what I think is a really good product. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I just think that everybody working together makes 97.1 what it is, and it's probably one of the big reasons why you guys listen to it. So it's a collaborative group. Let's see here. Jeff Tucker, man, crypto is something else. It is a completely different game than I know. And so it's really hard. It's really hard to find. We want to have guests on that talk about these things, but we want to have a guest on that is an expert so that we're not trying to give out information, or that people don't try to take information from us that isn't necessarily accurate. We want to find an expert that can talk about it, which is why we like having like Andy McCarthy on or Hans von Spakovsky to talk about legal things. That's why we loved having Will Scharf on so much. He has a tremendous legal mind. And I do miss having him on the show and talking to him, but we stay in contact just behind the scenes and off the record stuff. So can't bring anything that we've ever talked to because I don't want to betray that trust. But yeah, we want to bring experts on to talk about topics so that they can bring the right information or the correct information to you. And the other thing is what I really like about a lot of the guests that we have is they do a really good job of what my pastor calls putting the cookies on the bottom shelf. So, Joe, you're saying you watch Jeff Tucker talk about crypto on Will Kane, and he talked over your head. Well, that's not super helpful. So what we want to try to find is somebody that can talk about crypto, but put it in a way that somebody that knows nothing about crypto can understand it. And that way we get what I believe is you guys are the most educated radio listenership probably in the country. And I'm not saying you guys specifically on YouTube, but you guys specifically on the Annie Frey Show. Not specifically the Annie Frey Show, but on 97.1. You guys are great. Always, whenever we have events, the guests that, like if we have Heritage come in for a Heritage event, always get compliments on the questions that you guys have for them because they're well thought out and they're a really good question. It's not, just some drivel to ask a question. So part of that is because you guys are really, really good and really informed. Annie does a good job with callers. I agree with that. We've got some Missouri Valley Conference talk. Let's see, there's about 32 of you left. How long have we been going extra, guys? Anybody know offhand? I don't want to stay too long because it is Friday and I can't get started on my other stuff until I'm done with you guys. But I do want to answer questions and give you guys, the look. That's new. That is probably, oh man, they've changed a lot of stuff. So one of the big changes that we had, and I don't know if you guys remember this, we were in a different studio for a while. They were replacing the board. The board that's in this studio is what we had, although ours was bigger. But that's the kind of board that we had last time we were in here. The board that we had. The cool thing about that is it was really easy to use. The downside is they had stopped making repair parts for it. So if something happened to the board, they had to cannibalize another board to fix the board that was on there. So they got these brand new boards and they put them in everywhere. They put them in all the studios with all the new ones except for like these little, recording studios. They aren't worth investing the board in, the money to put a brand new board in. But making the old boards talk with the new boards, and because the new boards use a different way. Like, when we have Joe Concha on, he joins via, we call it Comrex or Access. When he joins on that, this board here, these old boards connected to that in a different way than the new boards. And so they had to replace equipment back in the rack where all of the audio equipment was. And that kind of stopped people from being able to connect to Access on these until just now, and they got that fixed. So now the Mark Cox show does the two-way radio from here again because that way they can connect with Bo. Joe says, crazy that entire Enterprise is that 2.5 foot board. Ours isn't. Our board is much bigger, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of what everything goes through. If it doesn't go through that board, it doesn't go over the air. And if we don't have a good board that's in working condition, that everything is working right, the on-air product sucks or doesn't happen, and then you have dead air, and that's no good either. They don't like that. Let me fix this. Hide this. Jack says this is way longer. Thanks, Brad. Hope to talk to you soon. Yeah, almost, Jack. It's almost restoration season. I'm actually waiting for a good break in the weather, and then we'll come out and visit you and pick that thing up, and then hopefully you can get it restored. Harsh is talking to Ender. Dale appreciates the overtime. Yeah, I'm going to do this every now and then. If Mark Reardon's here and not at the fish fry, there's a chance that Ethan will come in and we'll answer some questions about what we can. But Ethan also has to be very available to Mark for his show, so he wouldn't be able to stay the whole time like I did here. Every now and then Ryan will jump in, but we'll do all of that stuff. Let's see here. Anything else? Ender saying have a great weekend. Time to take the dog out. Harsh, it sounds like you guys are done. So thank you for joining on the overtime. I hope I answered some questions. The next time I do this, if you guys got questions in your phone, you got a little app. If you got an iPhone, Notes. If you got a different phone, I'm sure the Samsungs have some version of it. Write your questions down and put them in there, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. It is really fun working here. So looks like we went 30 minutes. So that being said, guys, thank you again for joining us. We love hanging out with you. We love chatting with you. We can't do what we do without you guys. So thank you again. We love the fannies. So guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you on Monday. And Lord willing, Annie will be back then. All right.